Success Books is proud to present Living Your Best Year Ever, a proven system for achieving big goals by Darren Hardy.
Back during World War II, enemies torpedoed a Navy cruiser carrying more than 1,100 crew members. As the ship sank into the frigid water, the crew floundered in the sea for 5 days. They were starving, drowning, and being attacked by sharks. The ocean current pulled 9 of the guys away, splintering off from the rest of the ranks. Seeing these men were beginning to lose their will, a young officer started asking them about their families and their lives back at home. He asked them to describe what they were going to do when they got back. He asked them what they wanted to accomplish and what difference they wanted to make. He had them envision how scared their spouses and children were and how their parents must feel not knowing if they were alive. He asked them to fight to stay alive, not just for themselves, but for their loved ones back at home. Finally, a passing plane spotted the men in the water. 2/3 of the 1,100 crew members perished. However, all 9, inspired by that young officer, lived. This story helps illustrate the importance of vision. The Bible explains where there is no vision, the people perish. What is the vision for your life? It needs to be bigger than yourself. What are you willing to fight for? Who are you willing to fight for? Or rather, live for? Hello, this is Darren Hardy, publisher of Success Magazine. In this program, I want to help you answer some life-changing questions. What is your grander purpose in life? What really motivates and ignites your passion? What will keep that passion burning long enough for you to achieve your wildest and most outrageous goals? Do you remember all the big dreams that you had when you were younger? Dreams so exciting that you could barely wait to grow up so you could pursue them. You had those dreams for a reason. Your inner potential was casting a vision of what is possible for you. However, somewhere along the travels, trials, and tribulations of life, you either forgot your goals, got distracted, or believed others who already had lost their dream and convinced yourself that yours wasn't possible either. I want to help you rekindle those dreams and show you that they're not only possible, but attainable. We'll build the path that will lead you directly and expeditiously to them. This reminds me of a great story about a large, majestic mountainside where a fragile eagle's nest rested. The eagle's nest contained 4 large eagle eggs. One day, an earthquake rocked the mountain, causing one of the eggs to tumble down the mountain to a chicken farm located in the valley below. By instinct, the chickens knew that they must protect and care for the egg, so an old hen volunteered to nurture this large egg. One day, the egg hatched and a beautiful eagle was born, but the eagle was raised to be a chicken. Soon the eagle believed he was nothing more than a chicken. The eagle loved his home and his family, but his spirit cried out for more. While playing a game on the farm with some of his chicken friends one day, the eagle looked to the skies above and noticed a group of mighty eagles soaring in the skies. Oh, the eagle cried out, "I wish I could soar like those birds." The chickens roared with laughter. "You cannot soar like those birds. You're a chicken, and chickens do not soar." The eagle continued staring at his real family up above, dreaming that he could be with them. Each time the eagle would let his dreams be known, he was told it couldn't be done. The eagle, after time, stopped dreaming altogether and continued to live his life like a chicken. Finally, after a long life as a chicken, the eagle died. A chicken. What's the moral of the story? If you listen to the chickens around you, you'll live and die like them, a chicken. Inside you is that eagle. How do I know? You wouldn't have picked up this audio and be listening to it now if something inside you didn't connect to it. This is your call to soar. You are an eagle. It's time to follow your dreams and not the words of chickens. Now is your time. Now is your time to soar. I'm a believer that things happen for a reason and there aren't any accidents. This is your opportunity. This is your time. This is your chance. But it's up to you to get the hint and answer the call. Don't miss the call like Bob did. Bob had been watching the rising Mississippi River threaten his home and his possessions. The waters had reached the front porch where Bob was standing. a man in a rowboat came by and called out to Bob, "Hey, hop in, I'll take you to high ground." Bob replied, "No, my God will save me." The river continued to rise all the way up to the second-story windows, and Bob, looking out, saw a powerboat come up. The man in the powerboat called out to Bob, "Hop in and I'll take you to high ground." Bob replied, "No, my God will save me." The river had now risen all the way to the roof of the house. Bob was standing on the ridge at the top with the waters swirling around at his feet. He saw a helicopter fly over, and the people inside yelled over a bullhorn, "Grab the rope and climb in. We'll take you to high ground." Bob yelled back up, "No, my God will save me." The river continued to rise, and finally it engulfed the house, and Bob drowned. The next thing he knew, Bob was standing before his God. In anger, he asked God, "I put my trust in you. Why have you forsaken me?" And God replied, "What more do you want? I sent you a rowboat, a powerboat, and a helicopter." Sometimes it's just up to you to receive the message. I don't know how you arrived at this program, but I do recommend you consider it a hint and your opportunity to design and live your best year ever and to live the life you've always imagined. Preface. Hello, friend. I know you. I might not know you personally, but I know about you. I know you want to do something great with your life. I know that you want to have more, achieve more, and become more than what most everyone else settles for in life. I know that you have unrealized dreams, greater aspirations, and a desire to do something significant with your life. I know this because you bought this program. You see, you and I are alike. We are achievers. Some people are afraid of the concepts in this program. If you can believe it, they don't want to achieve great things. They are afraid of having big goals. They are afraid of stepping away from the herd of the average and out of the comfort of mediocrity. But that's not you. It is you. You are the one I designed this program for. Welcome to the top 3%. By choosing to participate in this program, you have separated yourself from almost everyone else, or at least the remaining 97% of the population that doesn't give thoughtful contemplation to their life's desires and chart out a proper course to take their life in that direction. Most people are more diligent about making their grocery list than they are about designing their life. That is why, in my opinion, it is so easy to get ahead in life, stand out, and move ahead. Most people, 97% of them, couldn't be bothered. I know this is sad, but true, and not you. Here you are. Congratulations. In this program, I will show you how to achieve in a few months what it takes others an entire lifetime to achieve. If you've got the ambition and the passion to radically redesign your future, then this program is for you. Whenever I'm asked what is the number one skill that has been responsible for any unusual success that I've enjoyed, I quickly answer my ability to set, stick to, and achieve big goals. I learned the principles of goal setting when I was only 18 years old. I set an outrageous goal to earn a six-figure income while still attending college before my 19th birthday. I hit that goal. Then I set a goal to be earning $1 million a year just 5 years later. I hit that goal. Then I set a goal to be worth several $1 million and have my company doing more than $50 million in revenue only 3 years later, which would be age 27. I hit that goal. Needless to say, I'm a big believer in the study and practice of setting goals. There's a reason why goal setting doesn't really work for most people. Goal achieving is not simply the act of writing down a wish list and sending it off to the North Pole, expecting someone else to work tirelessly to materialize your goals as you sleep peacefully with sweet visions of sugar plum fairies dancing in your head. There is a very specific process for not only discerning what you really want and what's most important to you, but then the development of a specific and realistic plan of action that will keep you motivated and accountable long enough to see those goals and dreams come to fruition. Over the last 20 years of my life, I have voraciously studied, practiced, tweaked, and refined the process of designing each year with the goal to make it even better than the last one, making it the best year ever. I know it works, and now I share it with you. You now hold in your hands that formula, the very best I've ever learned and proven to work on how to achieve big, audacious, and wildly ambitious goals. Follow this program and you too have the formula to achieve your own great dreams, desires, and outrageously exciting goals. Welcome. Life will never be the same again as soon as you begin your journey with me through living your best year ever. Cheers to your fantastic future. Introduction. Are you living the life that you envisioned for yourself? Are you where you thought you'd be by now? Did you think you would be richer and healthier, have a better intimate relationship and more friends, experience more joy and have more peace of mind than you do now? If so, it's time for a turning point. You've probably heard the definition of insanity, doing the same things over and over and expecting different results. Well, you're not insane, are you? If you want the next year to be different than the last year, then now is the time to do something different. Here's a very inspiring realization. No matter what your past has been, you have a spotless future. Humans are unique. We are the only species that can completely change the course of our lives. Ants can't do it, alligators can't, and lions can't. If a goose wanted to fly west instead of south for the winter, it couldn't. All other animals besides humans are directed entirely by the impulse written into their genetic code. As a human, if you don't like the story of your life thus far, you can rip up that script and write a completely new one. Ask anyone who's achieved great success in life. There was a turning point, a time when they made a clear and resolute decision that from that moment forward, their life would never be the same. They drew a figurative line in the sand and separated the patterns of their past from their new vision of themselves and the life they were committed to leading. Some make that turning point at age 15, some not till they're 50, some do it several times throughout their lives, and some never at all. My challenge to you is this: make now your turning point. This year, this month, this day, this moment, what you have accomplished so far is only a fraction of what's truly possible for you. You are far more powerful, capable, and gifted than you allow yourself to be. The only thing separating you from your grandest vision of your life is courage. Muster the courage to declare that right now, this year, is your turning point. So, make a decision. When the clock strikes midnight next year, you'll be able to look back at this moment and this year as your pivotal turning point for the dream life you will be enjoying. In this audio program, I've included additional instruction beyond what you'll read about in the book, as well as some personal insights that I've picked up along the way. Having interviewed many of today's extraordinary superachievers, I've learned what they do to achieve wildly ambitious goals and become the quote-unquote overnight success stories you read about in the pages of Success magazine. Each step of this program will be like a new layer to the cake. It's important you complete each step of the process before moving on to the next. If you add frosting without the prior steps completed first, it will get messy. So will your plan. Now let me warn you, you might be excited and committed to this process and to designing your best year ever right now, but life will soon get in the way. You're going to have to consciously force yourself to carve out the time to do this and then stay committed to the weekly achievement management system. This is the master skill for success, so if you don't do the work, you won't get the results. I can't tell it to you any simpler than that. Don't miss this process, then go on complaining how your life isn't working out how you thought it would. This is it, but you have to do the work. So stick with me. It's simple and relatively easy to do. It's certainly easier than making excuses while you're not living to the potential you were given and living in the pain of discontent. As my mentor Jim Rohn wisely warned me, you will suffer one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons. Okay, let the journey begin. It's time to design and live your best year ever. Step 1. The why is more important than the how. As you will learn throughout this program, it is always more important to know why to do something than it is to know how to do it. Oftentimes, the how is laborious, tedious, or even frustrating. If there's not a compelling enough reason why, then you're not likely to persevere through the how. So before we go through the labor of designing your best year ever, let me start off by explaining why you should set goals in the first place. When I attended the funeral of another mentor of mine, Paul J. Meyer, I was reminded how full, rich, and diverse a life he led. He achieved, experienced, and contributed more in one lifetime than the lives of 20 achievers combined. Reading his obituary made me reassess the speed, quantity, and sheer size of the goals that I wanted to set for myself. If Paul were here today, he would tell you the reason for the quality and quantity of his successes came down to one skill: setting, sticking to, and staying committed to big goals. In fact, he wrote one of the first programs on the topic called The Dynamics of Personal Goal Setting. A couple of the ideas that I will pass on to you in this program come from my studies and practices of that program. So, why should you set goals? Well, it's one of the two common traits of superachievers. I am often asked what common traits I observe as I interview and get to know many of today's superachievers. Are you interested in the answer? My answer is quick because there are two commonalities shared by nearly 100% of top achievers. Those two strategies used by almost all great achievers are: 1. A relentless commitment to constant and continual learning. 2. Clearly written goals with their plans laid out to achieve them. It has been said that a life without a plan is an insane life. Certainly, traveling throughout life without a destination in mind and a plan to get there is a recipe for disaster, no doubt. The time to get a map is before you go walking in the woods. So here's a question for you. If you knew that devoting a couple of hours of time could multiply the results in your life by 10 times over all your peers, competitors, family members, and neighbors, 10 times more than what you are likely to achieve without defining your goals on paper, would you do it? Would it be worth it? Easy answer, isn't it? But it's easier said than done. Let me outline a couple of compelling advantages that having clearly designed goals gives you. Number 1, the killer advantage of speed. No matter your background, education, or current level of success, if you master the skills and processes that I will take you through, you can instantly gain an advantage over everyone else around you. You can start to access more of the grand potential within yourself and achieve only in a few months or a year what it might take others their entire lifetime to accomplish. You can achieve vastly more in a shorter period than you ever imagined. The speed will amaze both you and the people around you. I have seen many people with average intelligence run circles around those supposed geniuses. The one who learns the skill of effective goal achieving can go on to become far more wealthy, successful, and happy than many geniuses who don't even know what they really want. A genius will still get lost in a foreign country without a map. Even a numbskull will arrive at the destination faster if they can follow a map. The key point? Have a map of where you want to go. As I said, learning to set goals is the master skill of success. Without goals, your life is like a boat without a rudder. You drift along with the current, inevitably crashing up on the rocks time and time again. Proper goal setting puts you in a speedboat and gives you a target to steer towards. You will go directly to your destination and arrive with great speed. Are you starting to see the advantages of having clearly plotted goals tied to your ambitions? Let me take you to number 2. Number 2, discovering your indomitable inner power. Have you tried before and failed? After your initial excitement to make a change, grow, and go for it, have you found it difficult to stay motivated long enough to see your goal through? Not to worry, this time can be different. This time, I will help you find your unconquerable inner power, drive, and unrelenting passion. No, it's not your greater willpower, it's your why power. The kind of power that will drive you to move mountains, swim oceans, and walk through fire to accomplish your goals. Let me pull an excerpt from my book, The Compound Effect, to make this clear. If I were to put a 10-inch wide, 30-foot long plank on the ground and say, hey, if you walk the length of this plank, I'll give you $20. Would you do it? Of course, it's an easy $20. But what if I took that same plank and made a rooftop bridge between two 100-story buildings, and then I offered you the same $20 for walking across that sky-high plank? Would you do it now? You'd probably look at me and say, no way. However, what if your child was on the opposite building and that building was on fire and the flames were licking at their neck? If you didn't go across, they would certainly perish and die. Would you walk across the plank to save him or her? Likely your answer would be absolutely and immediately, $20 or not. Now, why is it that the first time I asked you to walk across that sky-high plank, you said, no way, yet the second time, you wouldn't even hesitate? The risks and the dangers were the same. What changed? Your why changed. Your reason for wanting to do it. You see, when the reason is big enough, you will be willing to perform almost any how. Here's a story to help illustrate this. In the Andes Mountains, there were two warring tribes that not so peacefully coexisted, one that lived in the lowlands and the other high in the mountains. One day, the mountain people invaded the lowlanders, plundering and kidnapping a baby from the village. They vanished with the child and took her back up into the mountains. The lowlanders, pushed to action at the disappearance of one of their own, didn't know how to climb the mountain. They didn't know any of the trails that the mountain people used, and they didn't know where to find the mountain people or how to track them in the steep terrain. Even so, they sent their best party of fighting men to climb the mountain and bring the baby home. The men first tried one method of climbing and then another. They tried one trail and then another. After several days of effort, however, they had climbed only a few hundred feet. Feeling hopeless and helpless, the lowlander men decided that the cause was lost and they prepared to return to their village below. As they were packing their gear for the descent, they saw the baby's mother walking toward them. She was coming down the mountain they hadn't figured out how to climb. They saw that she had the baby strapped to her back. How could that be? One man greeted her and said, "We couldn't climb this mountain. How did you do it when we, the strongest and most able men in the village, couldn't do it?" She looked intently at them and said, "It wasn't your baby." The power of your why is what gets you to stick through the grueling, mundane, and laborious. All of the hows will be meaningless until your whys are powerful enough. Until you've set your desire and motivation in place, you'll abandon any new path you seek to better your life. If your why power, your desire, isn't great enough, the fortitude of your commitment won't be powerful enough. And you'll end up like every other person who makes a New Year's resolution and gives up too quickly, reverting to living a life of ho-hum and mediocrity. Not you, not anymore, right? The person who has a clear, compelling, and white-hot burning reason why will always defeat even the best of the best at doing the how. We see this reality played out repeatedly. It's where greatness and extraordinary achievement comes from. So it's time we unlock that deep-seated passion and embolden you with the indomitable power and fortitude of your why power. This program will give you the keys to unlock it. Have you ever wondered how this all really works anyway? It can seem sort of voodoo-like from a distance, explained only by the genie in a bottle type of scenario. Well, if you've had that thought before, and I know that you have, let me explain how goal setting actually works. The mystery secret revealed. You only see, experience, and get what you look for. If you don't know what you're looking for, you certainly won't get it. By our very nature, we are goal-seeking creatures. Your brain is always trying to align your outer world with what you are seeing and experiencing in your inner world. When you instruct your brain to look for things that you want, you will begin to see them. In fact, the object of your desire has probably already always existed all around you, but your mind and eyes weren't open to it. This is actually how the law of attraction really works. It's not some mysterious, esoteric voodoo as it sometimes sounds like as it's being described. It's far simpler and more practical than that. We are surrounded with billions of sensory, visual, audio, physical inputs of information each day. To keep ourselves from going insane, we ignore 99.9% of them. You only really see, hear, or experience those which you focus your mind on. Does that make sense? It's not mysterious at all. It's actually quite logical. Now, whatever your mind is thinking on the inside is what it will pay attention to in the space of the 99.9% of everything else. And then all of a sudden, you see it. It looks like you attracted it, but it was already there all along. Did you ever start car shopping and then you started to see the model and make of that car everywhere? It seems like there are tons of them on the streets all of a sudden. More likely, they have been there all along, but you weren't paying attention to them. Thus, they didn't really, quote-unquote, exist to you before. So, when you define your goals, you give your brain something to focus on and to look for. You give your mind a new set of eyes to see all the people, circumstances, conversations, resources, ideas, creativity, and otherwise, so it can go about matching up on the outside with what you want on the inside, your goal. It's that simple, but the difference in how you see, experience, and draw ideas, people, and experiences into your life after you have clearly defined your goals is profound. Having goals gives you vision. Legend has it that there was a block of marble back in the 1400s that was cast aside, seen as flawed, being deemed too long and narrow to be useful for sculpture. It lay there useless for 40 years until 1501 when looked upon by a 20-something young man by the name of Michelangelo. Inside this formless mass of marble, the young Michelangelo saw the heroic beauty, grace, and wonder of a man who would become known as David. Michelangelo famously said, "I already saw David inside. I only had to release him by chipping away at the marble that trapped him in." Pre-sketched goals can give you that kind of vision. Additionally, goals give you direction. Having a goal fixed on the horizon gives you something to navigate towards. Here's an example. 3 boys out hiking came to an open field. They decided to have a contest to see who could walk the straightest line. The first 2 boys studied each step, carefully putting one foot in front of the other. When they looked up, they could see that they had zigzagged or arched off in one direction or the other. The 3rd boy walked a perfectly straight line and did it with much more speed. How did he do it? He kept his eyes focused on a single tree in the distance and simply walked directly toward it. While most people may be paying attention to what they are doing step for step or where they are going day to day, it is only when you have goals set out on the horizon that you can directly and expeditiously advance your life in that direction. Now, maybe you've set goals for yourself before and they didn't work, or maybe you didn't work. Either way, without knowing your specific goals, I still can tell you there are 5 big reasons why most goal-setting attempts fail. Here's reason number 1. Your goal list is just a wish list, and you're crossing your fingers. As I wrote about in the feature article in our January 2010 Success issue, you cannot simply write down a list of wants on New Year's Day, stick it in a drawer for the rest of the year, and wait around for your life to change. Number 2 reason why goals fail. Your goals are as clear as mud. Your goals have to be crystal clear. You have to give clear instructions to your brain in order for it to see and draw into your sights what you need to accomplish your goals. Just like the combination in a lock or the digits in a phone number or an ATM code, if it's off by only 1 digit, it won't work. Number 3, your goals are all talk. Proclaiming your goal is just the starting point. Now you actually have to draw a map of exactly how you're going to get there and define the resources you'll need to arrive safely. Number 4 reason why your goals fail, you have no Houston. Houston, I think we've got a problem. The management, command, and control system necessary to operate your plan, keep you on track, keep you measured and monitored through the journey and through the unknown. And the 5th reason why most goal setting fails is you lack reinforcements, the support and guidance of people and resources that you'll need all along the way. You can read more about this in the January 2010 issue of Success Magazine, Why Goal Setting Doesn't Work. And it can also be found on my blog at darrenhardy.success.com. In this program, I will guide you through all the potential pitfalls to ensure that you have the precise formula for achieving the boldest goals and wildest ambitions you can dream up. So take a moment right now and look in the mirror and say goodbye to your old self. Life will never be the same starting today. Alert your tailor, your CPA, your banker. your spouse and your kids. Oh, and if you have one, maybe your therapist. And if you want to add a little drama, you can do it Reggie Hammond style, as played by Eddie Murphy in the movie 48 Hours when he declared, "I want the rest of you cowboys to know something. There's a new sheriff in town, and his name is Reggie Hammond. Y'all be cool. Right on." Okay, I want to warn you though, if you're gonna take this journey with me, you need to be serious. Serious about significantly changing the trajectory of your life. Serious about wanting to access your great, but mostly dormant potential and set it free. Serious about committing to examination, challenging old thought and behavior patterns and declaring new ones. Establish new behaviors, build new skills, and take bold, new actions to realize your great goals. Are you up for the challenge? If you're serious and ready to commit to the process, I promise you it will be one of the most important decisions you will ever make for your life's success. I can personally testify to this. Make your commitment now by signing the commitment pledge enclosed in the book. Hey, commitment's like pregnancy. You're either all in or not at all. Step 2, year in review. There's an important process that I learned in life called plan, do, review, and improve. In this section, we'll examine your past successes and failures. Before marching blindly into the next year, the first and most important activity is to take a look back at the year just finished. Take an inventory, add it all up, and see how you did. What were your successes and where did you come up short? What worked and what didn't? What were your good decisions and which were bad? It is important to learn the lessons of life quickly or you'll be apt to repeat them. The smack in the head gets harder and the tuition for the lessons gets steeper each time. And I'm sure you know the feeling, right? I know I do, and it's better and a lot less painful to learn each lesson the first time. The process of plan, do, review, and improve will help ensure that you get the intended lesson and schedule the necessary improvements to triumph in the next round. The process is a simple one. First, you make a plan or set goals. Not planning is a plan too, just a bad one. Next, you do or execute. Then you assess how you did in review. In the review stage, you measure your accomplishments and count your wins and losses. And then finally, improve to make the necessary adjustments. Here's a quick tip. When doing my yearly review, I keep last year's calendar, photo albums, online photo storage service, Facebook, or whatever handy to keep and jog my memory of all the events and activities of the past year. It helps you remember all the things that you did last year. Skip this step and you might not even realize that you are off course until too much time has passed. Too many resources have been spent and your life is on the rocks. You don't want that, do you? All right then. Go now and complete the Year in Review worksheet now. This one thought can create great wealth, bolster your health and keep disease at bay, unlock your greatest potential, forge and fortify deep, abiding love, inspire great joy to the point of bliss. Of all the thoughts you can experience and control, there's one that can profoundly transform your life on a daily basis. Gratitude. Realizing what you already have is an important step to creating your goals for what you want. Let me explain how gratitude can greatly change your entire creative process. Here's the formula for the creation process. Input leads to thoughts, leads to expectation, leads to create, leads to your life and results. Let me explain. We get out of life what we create. Simple enough, right? We're all creative beings. We all arrive into this grand experience the same. Naked, scared, and ignorant. What becomes of our lives from that point forward is what we create or don't create. So then what drives and determines our creative process? Expectation. You've heard the saying, expectation manifests into creation, right? Thus, the part of the equation, expectation, determines what we create in our lives. So then, what are we expecting? Why does one person have a different expectation for their life than another? Our thoughts drive our expectation. Whatever we're thinking about becomes what we expect to happen. Good or bad, our thoughts have a powerful effect on our lives. This is why many of the great self-improvement books have focused on the power of thoughts. Think and Grow Rich, The Power of Positive Thinking, As a Man Thinketh, The Magic of thinking big, etc. That is why what you think about comes about. Now, preventing the fatal mistake. During the goal-setting process, you can actually turn this creative process against you. As you design the life you want, you will be fixated on the life you don't have. You will focus on all the things that you don't have, what you haven't accomplished, and all that you're not yet. While you need to have a vision for where you want to go and who you want to become, it is critical to first get centered, grounded, and affirmed with the abundance you already possess. You want your mind and your creative process fixated on abundance. An abundance mindset comes from realizing and appreciating all that you already have and all that you already are. Gratitude is the attitude that changes everything. We can stop the natural negative doubts deep inside our minds by redirecting them towards abundance and what's possible. This simple shift can change your world and all that you create in it. An attitude of gratitude adjusts the aperture of your mind to focus on the positive. Thus, you'll see, discover, and create more of the same, experiencing more abundance, prosperity, well-being, love, joy, and happiness. And that's what you want, isn't it? In order to create abundance, you must first acknowledge and appreciate the abundance you already have. If you operate from what you lack, you will continue to produce outcomes to match it. So to turn this around, start thinking about the great abundance you already possess. This attitude or mindset will now attract more of itself into your life. Your external life will then begin to mirror your new internal one. I know the power of gratitude, so to help calibrate my creative quote-unquote attraction magnets, I always start my New Year's goal writing by first reminding myself of what I'm already grateful for. There's a great line that says, sometimes we get so focused on the goal ahead, we don't see what we already have beside us. In the gratitude worksheet in the book, I will help you with this, but it's important to understand that this is not a once-in-a-year activity. It's an everyday activity you must incorporate into your routine. It is as important as brushing your teeth or taking a breath, and it should be just as automatic. Once you've completed the worksheet, review the many blessings in your life. With such a positive look at the past, you will be able to turn toward the future with arms wide open, ready and willing to receive all of the blessings yet to come. Let me wrap up this step with the wise words of John F. Kennedy. As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. Now, I would be grateful if you would go complete the gratitude worksheet and meet me back here for step number 4. Step 4, your balance sheet. Before we charge forward in declaring new, bold goals and charting a course to get you there, let's get a clear idea of where you are now and what areas you really want to improve and maybe some ones that you need to. This is a critically important step for 2 reasons. 1, imbalance. We often see people who have become successful in one area of life but are complete disasters in many other areas. Tabloid magazines are full of this kind of drama with headlines of bitter divorces, drunk driving arrests, family feuds, racist rants, bulimia, drug rehab, depression, and suicide attempts. Many of these same people, the ones many Americans idolize, are some of the most unhappy, insecure, and depressed people you will find. Why? Their focus on succeeding in one area of life created a great imbalance with the other areas. There is great cautionary wisdom in this verse. For what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world, yet lose his own soul? Be wary of the price the rest of your life has to pay for success in one area of your life. Number 2, you might build the wrong account. Someone shared an incredibly poignant distinction with me once that changed my entire orientation to goal setting and how I prioritize my energies and efforts. He said, before you build your business plan, build your life plan. Figure out what kind of life you want to have first. Where do you want to live? What type of people do you want to be surrounded by, etc.? Do you want to work nights, weekends? Do you want to travel? How much? Where? Do you want to be home for dinner every night? Do you like certainty and routine, or do you like variety and desire a little uncertainty every once in a while? Do you want a short commute? What type of environment do you want to go to each day? How do you want to dress, etc.? He said, then build your business or professional plan around those criterions. Make your business plan fit your life plan, not the other way around. Whoa, I had been doing it all backwards. How about you? Most of us have done exactly the opposite. We build our business plan first, outlining all our big goals, plans, and ambitions, and then figure out how to fit our life around that, usually at the sacrifice of your family and social life. Then we reach the end of our lives and find out that we've paid too high a price for too little of what was most valuable in life. My dad had a very good friend who grew up in an Arkansas farming town as one of 9 children. This man rose up from abject poverty to become very wealthy. He ended up owning over 100 units of real estate and accumulated a staggering fortune. He was a vibrant and charismatic person who saw business as a dog-eat-dog kind of boxing match, with his financial statements serving as his scorecard. He contracted cancer later in life, and I went to visit him with my dad last year on what became the day before he died. We laughed and we chatted about his many accomplishments in life for over an hour. As we were leaving, he called me back into the room. When I approached his bed, he grabbed me by the arm and said, "Don't miss the point like I did. I wish I had spent as much time and energy accumulating relationships as I had houses. I wish I had invested my heart as aggressively as I did my money. Only now do I understand true wealth, and none of it appears on a bank statement." Don't let that happen to you. Go now and complete the life assessment and the Wheel of Life chart, and let's see where you are now so we know where we need to go to work on to get your whole life to where you want it. Then I will see you in step 5, the big one, the grand design.
Continue with Living Your Best Year Ever on Disc 2.
Step 5, the grand design. Are you ready? Ready to write your future? Are you ready to be bold, dream big, and put your aspirations on the line? Literally. Ready to proclaim your BHAGs, your big, hairy, audacious goals? This is it. It's time for the grand design. This is actually the easy part. You knew this part about goal setting before this course. How to make a list of what you want to accomplish in the year ahead. The difficult part has been the process we've gone through to get here. We've talked about why setting goals is important. We've reviewed previous setbacks and accomplishments, and we've turned on the miracle magnet of the attitude of gratitude. We've figured out who you really are, what matters most to you in life, and have assessed how you've spent your time up to now. So, are you starting to feel pretty good about yourself and feeling that you're on the verge of something big? I hope so, because you are. And soon we'll outline the exact formula for designing your best year ever. But first, it's important to lay down some ground rules. Before you begin your goal setting, let me walk you through the guidelines. There are many trapdoors people fall through when setting their goals that render their goals ineffective, if not even counterproductive. Let me lift the lid on these trapdoors so you don't fall in them. Guidelines. Let me start you with this thought. Subtle and seemingly inconsequential adjustments transform wishes and aspirations into results. Number 1, don't just think it, ink it. The weakest ink is stronger than the strongest mind. Unless you write down your goals, they are often lost in the shuffle and excitement of new problems, challenges, and decisions. Eliminate outside interruptions. Brian Tracy told it to me this way. Unsuccessful people carry their goals around in their heads like marbles rattling in a can. Goals that are not in writing are merely fantasies. Put another way, they're like bullets with no powder in the cartridge. People go through life shooting blanks without written goals. To succeed, making clear written goals is your starting point. Well said, Brian. Number 2, suspend reality. Pretend it's only a game. Play in fantasy for a while. Let the giant that lay dormant inside you out to play. If you had every skill, resource, or ability in the world, what would you do? What would you set out to accomplish? Don't filter, qualify, or judge. Albert Einstein once said, "The same thinking that has led you to where you are now is not going to lead you to where you want to go." So remember, don't prejudge your ability or worthiness to have or achieve whatever your mind conceives. Let your thoughts flow. Are you feeling uneasy already? Understand that you're not committing yourself to everything or anything you write down at first. You're brainstorming, letting your imagination take a stroll. There will be time enough to separate the outrageous and the absurd, but to start, just play with reckless abandon. If a genie popped out of a lamp and could grant you 10 wishes in every one of these categories, what would you write down? Go for it. Here's number 3. Go big. It has been proven countless times by average people with meager beginnings who have risen to become extraordinary, world-changing achievers. Anything you can clearly visualize and genuinely desire is within the realm of possibility for you. Or as the great Napoleon Hill put it, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. It's important to understand that your mind doesn't care about the size of your goals. If you set little goals, you'll achieve little goals. If you set big goals, you can achieve big goals. And for the most part, it takes just about as much time, energy, and life force to achieve big goals as it does little ones. So why not set some big ones? Here's what Laird Hamilton, American big wave surfer, had to say about going big when we sat down with him at Success. All of us are capable of setting up our dreams as lofty and as high as our imaginations can bring us. When you lack imagination, it's difficult to create a goal. You have to dream, and you have to have some imagination to say, here's a big goal, now let's go conquer it. We have all been given great promise that requires very little from you. According to ancient script, all you have to do is ask. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and it will be open to you. Give yourself permission to dream big and risk big. What would you go for if you knew success was guaranteed? If you could write the script for your character's role in life, and it could be anything, what role would you write for yourself? What's your secret ambition? What have you always wanted to do, have, be, experience, but have been too afraid to pursue? What is your BHAG, your big, hairy, audacious goal? What is that one thing that even the thought of it makes your palms sweat a little? You are called for greatness. Answer the call. Expect greatness from yourself. Your responsibility is to live out your greatest potential and be the best you possibly can be, right here, right now. Expect little, and as a result, receive little. As my mentor Jim Rohn has said, don't set your goals too low. If you don't need much, you won't become much. Okay, here's number 4. Speak in the positive. Decide what you want to move toward, not away from, and speak in those terms. Examples. I am my ideal weight of 190 pounds by June 1st versus I want to lose 20 pounds. Or I have a positive net worth of $1 million by August of next year versus I want to get out of debt. Or I have a loving, respectful, and intimate relationship with my wife versus I want to repair my marriage. Does that make sense? Okay, number 5. State in the I am. Make statements in the present first person. I am X versus I want X. If you write a goal like, I want to be a millionaire, your creative energy will focus on that goal, the wanting of being a millionaire. If you say, I am a millionaire by December 31st of next year, your creative power will go to work on producing what you've declared to be true. Okay, next guideline. Number 6, be sure that they are your goals. Many people set goals that they think they should have rather than what they really want for themselves. Don't let your family, colleagues, or society's ideals or expectations dictate your ambitions. In fact, if your written goals are not from your true heart and inner ambition, your creative spirit will not work to produce them anyway. All it will do is frustrate you and give you the illusion that you are a failure and not capable when in actuality you successfully avoided, didn't achieve, what your inner spirit didn't really want anyway. You don't want that to happen. Number 7, make sure your goals align with your values. Some goals aren't worth going for at all. It is important to be sure that you don't sacrifice your core values to pay for the acquisition of a promise less worthy. Goals must fit your own values, standards, and desires. If they do not meet your needs, you will find it impossible to remain interested or involved with them at all. In my interview with CEO and founder of Starbucks, Howard Schultz, he put this key concept this way, and this is a guy who knows a little bit about achieving big goals. Phenomenally, Starbucks has grown from 150 stores to now almost 17,000, run by 142,000 employees. He said, whatever your culture, values, or guiding principles, you have to take steps to incorporate them into the organization early so they can guide every decision, every hire, and every strategic objective you set. Your core values are as important for a large corporation as they are for you, the individual. Get your core values determined, and they will be your guiding principles for every decision, every project, and every goal that you go for. As an additional bonus, you can download the free core values assessment from thecompoundeffect.com/free. And here is number 8. Don't be afraid to fight. One of the best days of your life can be when you find your fight. Without a fight, we all become fat, lazy, and sedentary. We lose purpose, passion, and vigor. Everyone needs a worthy enemy. I mean, think about it. Luke had Darth Vader. Batman had the Joker. David had Goliath. 20-somethings have the Man. Rush Limbaugh has the liberals. Lance Armstrong fights cancer. Apple has Microsoft. These days, Microsoft has Apple. Rocky had Apollo Creed, then Mr. T, then the Russian, then. Even God has Satan. A good enemy gives you a reason to fight. It pushes you to reach deep and exercise your skills, talents, and abilities to their fullest. Having to fight challenges your character and resolve. It's great motivation. Heck, I love the fight. Fighting is exhilarating, passion-inducing, and a crusade-championing force. I'm fighting enemies right now. I hate apathy, mediocrity, and the mentality of entitlement and victimhood that is propagated in our society. And if you read The Compound Effect, you will feel my fight against the overzealous commercial media continually bamboozling us and taking us for fools to have us believe in the quick fix, secret formula, immediate gratification, overnight success solution if you just buy their gimmick and give them 3 easy payments of $39.95. For Success Magazine, I see my enemy as typical news media, television and radio programs, newspapers, and many magazines that are constantly barraging our eyes, ears, and brains with sensational, negative, and fear, worry, and anxiety-inducing images and messages that is sinister and incredibly dangerous to our creative potential, perverting our perception of the world, crippling our consciousness, and stifling our belief systems about what is positively possible in the world and for you. It is shameful. But hey, don't get me started. So, I challenge you with that thought. What are you willing to fight for? What do you see as an enemy to your industry, your family, your community, or your world? What do you hate? Do you hate injustice? Do you hate cancer, poverty, homelessness, child abduction, hunger, needlessly expensive car insurance, whatever? Hate of something negative can be a powerful force for good. Find your enemy and let that image stir your blood, have you dig a little deeper, go a little longer, and fight a lot harder. I love the challenge Martin Luther King Jr. gave us when he said, if you haven't found something you're willing to die for, you aren't fit to live. What are you willing to cross a 100-story sky-high plank for? What are you willing to work day and night for? What are you willing to die for? So essentially, you can really live. Answer that single question and this entire program will have been the most important program you've ever read or listened to. Find your fight. Number 9, abandon limiting beliefs. There's a story about a little dog whose owner kept it on a 20-foot leash for years tied to a tree. He would see other dogs and would run right to the end of the leash. He knew exactly how far he could go. One day, the owner finally felt sorry for the dog, so he let him off the leash. The owner thought the dog would take off running happy and free. When another dog came along, sure enough, his dog got up and took off running. Much to the owner's surprise, when he got to where his leash would have ended, the dog stopped right where he always did. The dog was free, he just didn't realize it. Don't you be constrained by the imaginary, limiting beliefs you might be keeping yourself tethered to. And number 10, fear not. For the last guideline, I ask you to consider this passage from Marianne Williamson's book, A Return to Love. Quote, Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small doesn't serve the world. There's nothing enlightening about shrinking so other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine, as children do. We are born to manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Okay, now go to the Grand Design Worksheet and have fun. When you have fully liberated your wild imaginations, then come back and we'll walk through them together to scrub your goals to be sure that they are smart and balanced. Goal check. Are they smart? Now we have to check in and be sure that the goals we decided on passes due diligence. First of all, are the goals you wrote completely smart? Let's check and adjust accordingly. S, specific. Specific goals means well-defined, something that would be clear to anyone else. Example, here's what's not specific. Become debt-free. Specific would be cut up my credit cards and pay off $27,000 in bills and $33,000 in student loans. Adjust your goals so that they are specific. M, measurable. This is where we quantify our objectives so that we can measure our achievements against them. When you measure your progress, you stay on track, you reach your target dates, and you experience the exhilaration of achievement. That spurs you on to continued effort required to reach your ultimate goal. To determine if your goal is measurable, ask questions such as, how much, how many, how will I know when I accomplished it? Example, here's what's not measurable. Get fit. Here's what is measurable. Lose 25 pounds. Have a BMI or body mass index of 20. Cholesterol of less than 200. Able to run 5 miles regularly. Adjust your goals so that they are measurable. Here's the A in SMART. Attainable. This is the time to pull your head out of the clouds and put your feet back on the ground. The ground may be significantly elevated, but it's solid ground nonetheless. You can't create world peace tomorrow, solve hunger this month, or become a millionaire in a year if that is 20 times your current net worth. Your goal needs to stretch you, yes. Push you farther and faster than you ever thought possible, yes. At the same time, you don't want them to debilitate you if they're not really possible, even if you operated at your highest and best for the duration. Don't rely on any extraordinary external luck to have happen in order for you to reach your goal. What could you do and control the outcome to if you played at world-class level? Take a lesson from the famed women's basketball coach Pat Summitt from University of Tennessee. I'll tell you as a side note, she changed the way women's hoops is perceived around the world. She has won an unfathomable 1,037 games against only 196 losses. Point being, she's got some worthy advice on setting and achieving big goals. This is what she said. We always make sure that our plans for the season can be achieved. Setting goals is incredibly important to success, but if you set a goal that seems impossible to achieve, then you risk losing morale, self-discipline, and the chemistry if you falter early. Set a goal that stretches you, requires an exceptional effort, but one that you can reach. So now adjust your goals so that they are attainable. Now let's move on to the R in SMART. Relevant. This is one of the most important criteria to scrub against. Are the goals you set in alignment with your core values? Who you are and what's really important to you in life? Do they align with your mission and support your vision that you have for your life? You want to be sure that the direction in which you focus your creative capacity is in the direction of what is truly important to you, your life, and the legacy you intend to leave. If not, reconsider. So now, adjust your goals so that they are relevant. And lastly, T, time sensitive. You think act and react with the urgency and appropriate energy defined by the task. Just as your muscles prepare one way as you stoop over to pick up the morning paper and react in an entirely different manner when you bend over to pick up a 100-pound barbell, so does your mind. It prepares your body and attitudes for responding appropriately to the deadlines that you set for yourself. Deadlines create a challenge, and you will respond to the challenge. In sports, the tension mounts as the time runs out. The most exciting plays are often in the last few minutes, especially if the game is close, because people respond in dramatic fashion to the challenge of deadlines. So now, adjust your goals so that they are time-sensitive. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-sensitive. Are your goals smart? And now next, goal check. Are they balanced? Now look back at your goals and be sure that they represent each area of your life wheel. The grand goal in life is whole life success. Success, by your definition, in every area of your life. Your goals become the roadmap by which you navigate the direction of your life. Before you begin the journey towards your new goals, take a step back to gain proper perspective on exactly where you're going to be directing your life. Too often we see people focusing exclusively in one area of their life at the sacrifice of other areas. Have you ever seen a guy who has giant arms but skinny legs? Looks a bit ridiculous, right? That's how many people's lives look. Too much focus in one area and not enough in another. We all pity the man who has the big house on the hill filled with expensive cars and trinkets, yet no one to share them with. Be wary of the price you need to pay to achieve the prize you seek. Some prizes might cost too much, and that might be realized only after payment has been made. I like what Big George Foreman said in an interview with Success. He said, in the end, statues and all those things, that doesn't mean anything. Leave something that we're all going to benefit from. That's a knockout punch to consider. Now that you've completed the goal development process, it is important to check in and see if you're directing your life in a balanced manner using the Wheel of Life. First off, reapply where you are on the Wheel of Life now. Then, in different ink, chart the current emphasis of your new goals on the wheel in each category. Hey, a guy could be fervently committed to his church, love his wife and kids, but eat too many donuts that shorten his life, and he fails in the marketplace, so he unnecessarily burdens his family with undue stress and financial hardship. There's also the gym rat or the supermodel who's fanatically committed when it comes to their health, but they have a hard time holding an intelligent conversation, and you will always have to pick up the tab when you're out with them. So you don't want any of that imbalance. So now, if necessary, adjust your goals so that they are balanced. The key is to be sure that you are giving appropriate attention and setting worthy goals in all important areas of life. The ambition of one goal might need to be pulled back a bit so that there is room, time, and attention for another goal so that you can create a more balanced wheel. The goal is to live whole and roll easily to the top. True achievement and life fulfillment is when you have success at home, in the marketplace, and with the triad of your being, body, mind, and spirit. Then we arrive at the apex of what this entire exercise was designed to produce, your top 3 banner goals. Your banner goals. I believe in focus, focusing on the most important and valuable priorities of our life. Sometimes we pursue too much and achieve too little. As the wise adage explains, the man who chases too many rabbits catches none. Prioritize your goals into your top 3 for the next year. Okay, now that we have the design, next we will discuss the most important ingredient in goal achievement. I call it the magic factor. Not because there's any magic involved, but because of the miraculous results that are created when you focus on this one factor. Are you ready for some magic? Okay then, let's proceed. Step 6, the magic factor to achieving your goals. What is the magic factor? This is the factor for turning goal setting into goal achieving. This is how goals are achieved rather than just conceived. The cause of all your problems and the solution. When I ask someone what they want to improve in their life, I hear things like, I need to make more money, or my marriage is unhappy, or I need to lose weight. But these are simply symptoms of the problem. The cause of the problem is you. And this is probably one of the most sobering understandings you can reach as you work towards your stated goals. Whatever it is that you want to change, your marriage, your financial situation, your weight, You'll never achieve lasting change until you change. Once you improve, everything else around you will improve. I call this the you factor. When it comes to achieving your goals, remember, it's not your goals that need to be worked on, it's you. Here's what you need to know. You don't get in life what you want. You get in life what you are. You will only have the level of success in any area of your life that equals your level of self-worth. But the human tendency is to engage in the study of effects while giving little attention to the cause. I see this travesty played out every day. People complain about their terrible marriage, and so they leave it. Oddly enough, they end up with similar problems in the next relationship. Why? Because they didn't address the real problem. The same set of circumstances and patterns of behavior will create the same outcome. They left the relationship, but they took themselves with them. This is the most important personal development distinction you can come to realize. It, health, marriage, money, career, etc., is not the issue. The issue is you. It will only be as great as you are. If you work on it, it will continue to elude you. If you work on you, it will rise to the level of the new you. Let me see if I can help this make more sense. Our personal development, self-identity, works like a thermostat. Our current level of personal development is where our thermostat is set, which is called a set point. No matter what happens outside, the thermostat will kick in to bring the room back to the set point. If it's cold outside and gets cold in the room, the thermostat will turn the heat on and bring it back to the set point. If it's hot outside, the air conditioner will kick on and bring it back to the set point. This is true of our lives. We all have our self-worth or personal development set point. You will never make more money, be healthier, or have better relationships greater than your set point. If you temporarily do, your inner thermostat gets uncomfortable and will bring you back down. Psychologists would call this self-sabotage. This is why 90% of the people who've won an extraordinary amount of money in the lottery lose it all and end up right back where they started before they came into the windfall. The money they obtained was far above what their self-worth or personal development set points were, so subconsciously their thermostat kicked in and did whatever it took, sabotaging behavior, to bring the money back down to the comfortable set point. Here's what Jim Rohn says on the topic. If you want $1 million, the first thing to do is to become a millionaire. This is also why people who make a goal of losing weight, begin a diet, actually lose the weight, and then end up back to the same or worse weight than they were when they started. Why is that? Because even if they temporarily lost the weight, but they didn't change their set point, their internal thermostat is going to kick in and have them end up exactly where they started or worse. Freaky, huh? But that's how it works. You can only have, be, or do what you feel you are worthy of, deserve, or have in character. The key then is to raise your set point. Self-identity, mindset, attitude, philosophy, character, confidence, etc. When that gets raised, everything in your life will be raised with it. Goal achieving is not about what you do. Typically, the first thought that comes to mind after writing down a goal is, what do I need to do to accomplish this? That, unfortunately, is not the right question to ask. I want to tell you about a day that changed my life in the hopes that it will do the same for you now. That life-changing day was in November 1994, the day that I met the man who would become my personal mentor, Mr. Jim Rohn. Funny thing was, I wasn't even there to meet or hear Jim. I was there to meet the promoters of an event. I needed to wait until the event was over, so I sat down and listened to this willowy, gray-haired man with the most fascinating voice and intonations lecture about the principles of success. What he said riveted me. Jim Rohn asked the audience, how many people want to have more? I thought, yes, I want to have more. Success, money, a better body, more companionship, etc. And I awaited the instructions of what to do. By that point in my life, I had experienced moderate success already, but I had done it through sheer brute force. I was aggressive and just outworked, outfailed, and outpersisted everyone else to grab my achievements. I did it by doing. But what Jim said next would multiply my income, my goal achievement, and my results, and it wasn't by doing. Jim continued, if you want to have more, you have to become more. He said, success is not a doing process, it is a becoming process. What you do, what you pursue, will elude you. It can kind of be like chasing butterflies. He said, success is something you attract by the person you become. Wow, I thought. This was the first time I've heard this twist of perspective, insight, and wisdom. Jim continued, for things to improve, you have to improve. For things to get better, you have to get better. For things to change, you have to change. When you change, everything changes for you. Wow, those were the keys to the kingdom for me, and it launched me on my constant and unrelenting, never-ending journey of continuous personal development. And he was right. The next year, I tripled my income to 7 figures a year, and within 4 years was a self-made multimillionaire. And I wasn't doing any more than I had before I met Jim. My doing wasn't any different, but who I was doing it was, and that made all the difference in the world. I invite you on such a journey, the journey of continuous personal development. If you want more in life, this is the yellow brick road to getting there. Let me give you an example of how this radical approach to achieving your goals works. When I was single and ready to find my wife and be married, I wrote out my perfect woman. I handwrote 40 pages describing my wife-to-be in great detail. Her personality, character, key attributes, attitudes, philosophies about life, interests, even what kind of family she'd come from, and of course her physical features down to the texture of her hair. I was so incredibly detailed. I wrote in depth about what our life would be like and what we'd do together. I had a goal that was specific, measurable, attainable, I hoped, relevant, and time-sensitive, all the traits of a well-written goal. Now, most would ask, what do I have to do to find this girl? But if I had, I might still be on that butterfly chase. Jim Rohn's lecture rang in my head. Success is not something you pursue. What you pursue eludes you. Success is something you attract by the person you become. If you want to have more, you must become more. So I look back at the list and ask myself 2 important questions. 1, do I have all the attributes that I expect in this smart, successful woman? Yowza, that's a totally different way to look at this. My second question was, what kind of man would this incredible woman be looking for herself? Who do I need to become to be attracted to a woman of this substance? Uh-oh, I thought, and yet there was the key. So now I detailed all the traits, qualities, behaviors, and characteristics that I needed to become in order to attract this great woman. I filled up 40 more pages describing all that I needed to become and then went to work on becoming those qualities. And guess what? It worked. As if she were peeled off the pages of my journal and appeared in front of me, my wife is exactly what I described, in almost eerie detail. The key was understanding who I needed to be in order to attract and keep a woman of her caliber, and then doing the work to achieve that. So, are you ready to become the person who will achieve your goals? In this exercise, I will walk you through specific steps to discover who you need to become to achieve all that you desire. We will go through the characteristics, behaviors, and disciplines you should adopt, as well as the behaviors you should expand or eliminate. We'll figure out together all that you need to become to achieve your big goals. Go now and complete the Magic Factor worksheet, and then come back. I will give you a not-so-secret, but certainly forgotten and rarely practiced key to getting what you want, something that might surprise you. On your journey to achieving your goals, this one shift in your mindset can radically change how the world around you responds to and receives you. Now, here's the part of the program that you'll really get your money's worth. How to get what you really want. This is one of the most important strategies you could ever employ in life. Are you ready for that strategy? Are you sure? Because when I tell you, you might say, "Oh, I already know that." But then I will promptly ask you, is that really the strategy you're using every day to get what you want? I already know the answer. Probably not. So there's something yet still to learn. You see, the process of goal setting can make you very myopic and me-focused. If we really want to get what we want, we have to remember one of the oldest success principles there is. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Or as Zig Ziglar put it, you can have everything in life that you want if you will just help enough other people get what they want. Now, I ask you this deeply probing question for your consideration. What if that's true? What if you knew for sure that everything you gave, you would receive back tenfold? How much would you give? What would you give? How fast would you give it? So, what do you want? What attributes do you need to accomplish your goals? Do you need more courage? Who can you encourage? Do you need more strength? Who can you help strengthen? Do you need more belief? Who can you give belief to? Do you need more confidence? Who can you instill confidence in? Do you need more love? Who can you give love to? In the last step, we discovered what you needed to become in order to accomplish your extraordinary and ambitious goals. You might have looked back at the list and thought, but how? How can I become more confident, more courageous, bolder, happier, more positive, stronger if I don't feel that way? This is how. Give what you need. Give what you want. What you give to others, you give to yourself. And the added bonus? Most of the time, it multiplies itself back to you. Another facet to consider is what my friend, best-selling author, and thought leader Mark Sanborn said to me in an interview. He said, "The reality is your legacy is what you're remembered for after you leave. It's not about the results that you created, it's about the relationships you built. You know, it's not about what you learned, it's about what you taught others. It's not about what you achieved, but what you contributed." I once had an employee we'll call Susie. During a review, we identified that she lacked the self-confidence necessary for her to adequately perform her job responsibilities. I could have told her all the positive attributes that she had and what I admired about her to boost her self-esteem, which I did anyway. But I knew that wouldn't work. Others had probably tried before. I knew she needed to give what she was lacking to someone else in order to experience the transformation. I asked Susie whom she knew who also suffered from a lack of self-confidence. The only person she could think of was a girl who lived a few doors down from her. I asked Susie to spend some time with this girl and see if she could help her improve her self-esteem. After talking with the neighborhood girl about her interests and how she spent her time, Susie learned that the young girl played soccer but was too timid to be very good. Susie had been a former all-state soccer player in school and committed to tutor this girl in the sport a few evenings a week. Susie not only spent time coaching her on how to be better at soccer, but also talked with her about other aspects of her life. As a result, the girl's soccer performance improved dramatically, and her self-esteem was significantly boosted because of the interest Susie showed in her life. Witnessing this transformation, Susie felt valued, important, and saw the difference she could make in another person's life. Her own self-esteem expanded in spectacular fashion. She became one of my most successful public relations agents and went on to many other successes. So, I want you to decide what key attributes you need to accomplish your big, hairy, and audacious goals, and then go figure out how you can go about giving that very thing away to others. When you look at the world with an eye on how you can give, instead of simply focusing on what you can get, the thing you desire will be the path to your door. Jim Rohn once said, "Giving starts the receiving process." So, are you ready to get your goals accomplished? Figure out how you can go get other people's goals accomplished, and you will be well on your way. Step 7. Your plan of action. The difference between a dream and a goal is implementation, writing it down and creating a specific plan to achieve your goal. Now is the time to formulate your strategic plan of action. Our minds operate best with precise instructions. There are 18,333 potential combinations to open up a 3-number lock. If you have 3 numbers in correct sequence, opening the lock is easy. If you don't have the combination, you could wallow in trial and error through thousands of permutations. Making a specific plan of action provides your mind with the instructions to unlock your potential. Let me give you some insight into the process the legendary football coach Bobby Bowden outlined for us when we interviewed him for Success. We asked what his key was to creating teams that were such a dominating force in college football. FSU, Florida State University, won 12 Atlantic Coast Conference championships and a total of 377 wins under Bowden's leadership, an extraordinary feat. He said, "At the start of every season, we take about 4 days to get away from everything, including the phone, where people can't get to us. During that time, we discuss our goals. I talk about our goals for the year. I'm a big believer in setting goals," he said. "But more important to me than setting them is writing them down. Doing that makes me and everyone around me stay the course, stay accountable. And then we talk about how we're going to go about it, breaking down what everyone must do for us to reach each goal. We talk about what everybody's responsibility is and what our responsibility is to the university and to the players. So, if you want to win big, follow Bowden's lead. There is one giant cautionary warning you must heed. After all this careful planning, you must master the art of staying focused, but yet still remain flexible to all the unexpected hurdles and opportunities that will surely show up once you make your first step forward. Now's the time to discuss this important art. I have said before that goal achieving is a delicate balance between planning and improvisation. Yeah, this is where it gets a bit like jazz. Remaining flexible. Have you ever heard someone say, "I will accomplish this even if it kills me"? Well, in my early years of goal achieving, I almost died and missed a lot of other opportunities along the way. I became so focused, so dogmatic about the goals I had set and my specific plans to achieve them that my blinders blinded me from, 1, seeing easier and faster routes to my destination, and 2, that some of the goals important earlier in the year are not as important now. This is one of the greatest challenges to success, staying focused on your goals while remaining flexible enough to adapt to the needed change. Even though we have created SMART goals and designed a very specific strategic plan to achieve them, it is crucially important to remain open and flexible along the way. If you look back, most of your defining moments or pivotal events that transformed your life, I bet were mostly unplanned and happened unexpectedly. Isn't that true? Life is a mystery. You never know what might show up, and you can't be so myopic that you miss the opportunities and solutions you couldn't have even fathomed before. Murphy's Law and the T-shirt philosophy. You know old Murph, right? The too familiar friend who always seems to show up at your party at the most embarrassing and worst possible times? Well, Murphy lives to teach us this. If something could go wrong, it will. Don't be too attached to the route you first charted, as you will undoubtedly be reevaluating and adjusting all along the way. Imagine being at the top of a double black diamond ski run and your goal is to get to the bottom of the mountain where there is a fire and a hot cocoa. If you ski just straight down, which seems like the most logical direction, you will probably not end up with all your limbs intact, certainly not with your skis still strapped on while you crawl the final yards at the bottom. You're gonna have to zig, zag, bob, and weave your way all the way down. You might not look too graceful, you might fall repeatedly, and you might be fearful all the way down, maybe even screaming a little bit like a kid. But stay focused on the goal and be ready to adjust with each new visible obstacle. Then there's the T-shirt philosophy. Stuff happens, so be ready to deal with it. An old military axiom says, no plan ever survives first contact with the enemy. General Dwight D. Eisenhower, after a successful invasion of Normandy in World War II, was asked about the detailed planning process that went into the invasion. He said, the plans were useless, but the planning was indispensable. When we interviewed Scott McNeely of Sun Microsystems, he said, when you start and build a business, you have to throw out all assumptions every 3 weeks. Just as a business never goes according to the initial business plan, neither does the plan for your life. Don't get too entrenched in having it have to be or go a certain way. Be flexible, have a vision and an outcome in mind, but remain wide-eyed about what might show up and accelerate your ride and various paths of what might get you there. As I said, goal achieving is a delicate balance between planning and improvisation. You can say life is jazzy. Deal or no deal? You never know what's in the next suitcase. Even though I've been intensely goal-focused all of my life, it wasn't until I learned to remain open to the great unexpectations of life that the big doors of opportunity really opened up to me. Let me give you an example. In the early 1990s, I had started a marketing and advertising firm in downtown San Francisco. We were focused on the hospitality market, and I had personally already invested $150,000 in equipment. Then the Success TV, or TPN, the Personal Development Satellite TV channel, opportunity showed up, totally from left field. I could have remained fixed on my big plans to conquer the niche I was pursuing in the San Francisco hospitality space, but instead I literally trashed the equipment I had bought, paid 6 months more on my now empty office lease, and changed my goals to build the TV network. This change of direction resulted in earning millions of dollars and eventually selling the business for many more millions. This was a far greater outcome than if I had remained overly dogged on my original goal. When I interviewed leadership and management guru Ken Blanchard, this is what he said: "Life is what happens when you are planning to do something else." Ah, so true. Then there is the added complexity of the times we live in. Just like the degree on your wall was obsolete when it finally came back from the framer, so too was the plan you devised to achieve your goals. We live in an era of rapid change. The world as you know it today is different by tomorrow. We live under a constant tidal wave of change, and change is not just accelerating, it's exploding exponentially. Let me give you some context to the speed of change we live under with two examples from history: the speed of transportation and the acceleration of knowledge. Around 6000 BC, the camel caravan was the fastest form of transportation at about 8 miles an hour. By the late 18th century, about 1785, the stagecoach could cover about 10 miles an hour. It took about 8,000 years to increase the average group speed by 2 miles an hour. In 1825, the steam engine was invented, and within a decade, locomotives could carry people at the speed of 13 miles an hour. In less than 50 years, the average rate of speed had increased more than in the previous 8,000 years. Within the next 100 years, airplanes were traveling at 100 miles an hour. By 1960, missiles were traveling at more than 1,800 miles an hour. This rapid acceleration in the speed of travel has transformed our planet and brought tremendous change in its wake. Once change begins, it can gather momentum like a snowball rolling downhill. Soon we become buried in the avalanche of change that had just a small beginning. The change of change is also evident when we look at the accelerated rate of growth in mankind's knowledge base. The question to consider is, how quickly does what we know change? Let's assume that all of the scientific knowledge that mankind had accumulated by year 1 AD equaled 1 unit of information. How long did it take that 1 unit of knowledge to double? This research was actually done, and the answer was 1,500 years later, or until the 16th century. The next doubling of knowledge from 2 to 4 units of information took only 250 years, or by 1750 AD. By year 1900, 150 years later, knowledge had doubled again to 8 units. The speed at which information doubles was getting faster and faster. The doubling speed has now reached every 1 to 2 years, and by year 2020, it's expected that all human knowledge in existence will double every 72 days. Now, what is the point of this knowledge? To scare you half to death? No, but it certainly is a wake-up call, no doubt. The key point is this: whatever you think you know about the proper path, the potential obstacles along the path are subject to change. The future is largely unpredictable, and the one certainty is change is inevitable and rapidly expanding. Thus, you have to remain flexible. The exciting thing about this is with change comes opportunity. What you think is your greatest opportunity today might be even bigger or something completely different than what is currently viable or even available right now. Just keep your eyes open and stay dedicated to continual and incessant learning.
Continue with Living Your Best Year Ever on Disc 3.
You get in life what you create. That's easy enough to understand. We are all creative and productive beings, and our life is a result of all that we've created. You create, then, what you expect. Expectation manifests into creation. What you expect to happen is what your creative capacity goes to work on producing. So let me pause here and add emphasis to this area of expectation. How you create what you expect. It has been scientifically proven that placebos are about 55 to 60% as effective as the most active medications like aspirin or codeine for controlling pain, simply because people expect them to be. There is also what's known as the opposite placebo effect. There was an interesting study done in Japan where they blindfolded students and then told the students that their right arms were being rubbed with a poison ivy plant. Afterwards, all the students reacted with classic symptoms of poison ivy itching, boils, and redness, but only a harmless shrub was actually used. On the other arm, actual poison ivy was used, but they were told it was only a harmless shrub. Only 2 of the 13 students broke out with poison ivy symptoms. Incredible, isn't it? This is what psychologists call expectant theory. Expectations that the brain creates can be as real as those created by events in the real world. expectation causes the same complex set of neurons to fire as though the events were actually taking place, triggering a cascade of events in the nervous system that leads to a whole host of real physical consequences. Here's another fascinating study that was done at Yale University. They told one group of house cleaners that the activities of their normal job burned calories, like a cardio workout, and the other group, they did not share this little-known fact. Several weeks later, the first group actually lost weight and lowered their cholesterol. The other group did not. The mental construct of our daily activities, more than the activity itself, defines our reality. This is why the more you believe in your ability to succeed, the more likely it is that you will, and it is proven scientifically. Believe you are a good salesperson, and your sales will go up. Believe otherwise, and they will go down. I can tell you this was one of the greatest secrets of the success of the multi-billion-dollar producer Paul J. Meyer. During one of our recorded interviews, this is how he explained his secret verbatim. Quote, "I am kind of what you would call an inverted paranoid. I just believe everybody in the world is out to get me and help me do whatever I want to do. I think everybody wants to be my partner. Everybody wants to be my customer. When I walk up to a door, I visualize a red carpet rolled out and 2 trumpeters standing on each side. And the person inside is wanting to do business with me because he not only wants to buy from me, he wants to be my friend." You know, there's amazing power in positive expectancy. I saw this mindset play out in Paul's life over and over again. I have used this model for my own life with equally stunning results. I recommend it to you. This is also why you have to protect with a vengeance those factors that influence your expectation. So then, what influences or drives your expectation? You expect what you think about. As the wise saying goes, if your thinking is stinking, so will your life. So let's talk about it. What does determine what you think about then? The input you get. This is the foundational source that activates and drives your entire creation process. Let me give you an extreme example of how influential the input of intangible images and information you feed your eyes and ears can manifest on you physically. During the tragedies of September 11th, 2001, there were people all over the U.S., from small towns in Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, and South Dakota, who didn't even know anyone who lived in New York or had even been to New York themselves, but they had to be medically treated for post-traumatic stress disorder simply because they watched the images of the World Trade Centers falling over and over and over again on television. They had no personal connection or involvement, but simply by the repeated input of those images, they were affected physically, their biochemistry and their nervous system becoming sick and needing to be medically treated. While maybe not as dramatic, this is the same kind of outcome and influence the input you expose yourself to day in and day out has on your life. Oh, and by the way, you do it to yourself. Do you realize that no one has locked you up forcing you to watch morning news, read the newspaper, listen to drive time radio, or watch the 10 o'clock news before you go to bed? All that garbage that is dispensed into your ears and in front of your eyes happens because of what you put your head in front of. You are doing it to yourself. Here's another way to understand this. Your mind is like an empty glass. It'll hold anything that you put into it. It is simply an empty vessel. It'll hold Coca-Cola, cyanide, fresh squeezed orange juice, or mother's milk. It doesn't judge or filter what you put into it. It simply holds it. You put in sensational news, salacious headlines, talk show rants. It's like pouring dirty water into your glass. Now, if you've got dark, dismal, worrisome water in your glass, everything you create will be filtered through that muddy mess because that's what you'll be thinking about. Garbage in, garbage out. All that drive time radio yak about murders, conspiracies, deaths, the economy, political battles drives your thinking process, which drives your expectations, which drives your creative output. That is bad news. But just like a dirty glass, how do you clean it if you can't just pour it out? You can run it under a faucet and flush it with clean, clear water. If you run the clean water long enough, eventually you'll end up with a glass of pure, clear water. What is that clear water? It is positive, inspirational, and supportive input and ideas. Stories of aspiration and inspiration. People who, despite challenges, are overcoming obstacles and achieving great things. Strategies of success, prosperity, health, love, and joy. Ideas to create more abundance, to grow, expand, and become more. Examples and stories of what's good, right, and possible in the world. That is why we work so hard at Success Magazine. We want to provide you with those examples, those stories, and those key takeaways that you can use to improve your view of the world, yourself, and the results you can create. That is also why I read something inspirational and instructional for 30 minutes in the morning and in the evening and have personal development CDs playing while I'm in the car. I am flushing my glass and feeding my mind. Does this give me an edge over the guy who gets up and first thing reads the newspaper, listens to the news radio on his commute to and from work, and watches the evening news before going to bed? You bet it does, and it can for you too.
Continue with Living Your Best Year Ever on Disc 4.
Step 8. Action. The final step. Action. Yes, you actually have to work. Dang it, right? You were hoping for the telephone number of that wizard or genie in a bottle, weren't you? Sorry, the Harry Potter world doesn't really exist. I'm sure by now you've learned that wanting, wishing, hoping, and praying isn't going to hack it. You can't just sit and wait for success to arrive. No, you actually have to take action. You have to get off the couch, walk out your front door, and make something happen. Doing has to follow wanting, believing, hoping, praying, and planning. All the planning, pondering, and philosophizing alone won't produce your desired results. All the contemplation, envisioning, affirmations, chanting, positive thinking, and meditation won't materialize your goals. One of my predecessors at Success, Napoleon Hill, once asked an audience, what is the average number of times that a person tries to achieve a new goal before they give up? After several guesses from the audience, he gave the answer, less than 1. Most people give up before they even try. Even though they want to improve their lives, increase their income, accomplish more, most people respond with, I can't in their head and give up before even starting. Nothing breaks the human heart more than the realization that one has lived only a fraction of their potential and they didn't fulfill their duty to shine. Don't let this be you. Promise? Another one of my predecessors at Success, W. Clement Stone, once said, I think there's something more important than believing. Action. He said, the world is full of dreamers. There aren't enough who will move ahead and begin to take concrete steps to actualize their vision. So, committed, disciplined, and sustained action is the final ingredient in the miracle process of materializing any achievements you can conceive. Get going. Now that you've decided what you want and who you need to become to achieve your goals, you must now strike while the iron is hot. The time to begin is when the emotion is high and the intentions are strong. Jim Rohn said, without a sense of urgency, desire loses its value. The next 24 hours, adopt a do-it-now philosophy. When is the right time to implement a new idea that can change the entire construct of your family's future? Right now. If your house is on fire, when should you put it out? Right now. If you have an employee committing fraud, when should you fire him? Right now. If you're on the verge of a heart attack, when should you turn it around? Right now. Develop a startling sense of urgency. Do not delay. Decide what you can do right now. Within the next 24 to 48 hours, what will you do to put at least one of your goals into action? You will create momentum by taking action immediately. What one step will you take in the next 24 to 48 hours? Here's an example. Go to the dealership and get a brochure of the car you want. Go buy a greeting card and mail it to your wife, telling her how much she means to you and your intentions for creating a magical and romantic year. Get the catalog from the community college that you're going to take some college courses in, etc. Do it now. Pope John Paul VI once said, whatever you want to do it now. There are only so many tomorrows. You cannot afford to wait for perfect conditions. Have the courage to begin. Borrow from the beauty of tomorrow to enroll yourself in the activity of today. Do as Eleanor Roosevelt so wisely instructed. You must do one thing every day that scares you. Today, take your first scary steps forward towards the achievement of your goals. Be bold. Virgil said, fortune favors the bold. Reinstill your faith in yourself. It is the only thing keeping you from your greatness. Start living with audacity. Have chutzpah. Stand away from the crowd. Don't follow the herd any longer. Never again settle for the common, mediocre, or average results in life. Have a higher standard for yourself than anyone around you would even expect. Be different, think different, and act different. Be what others are afraid to be. And I want you to Thoreau it. Henry David Thoreau, that is, and heed his advice. Go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life you've imagined. Fight for your future. We wouldn't even know or care about David if he didn't take on Goliath. You want to be remembered, revered, and heralded like David, right? Find a Goliath, your big, hairy, audacious goals, and fight for them to the death. Win or lose, let it be known. I have fought a good fight. I have finished my course. I have kept the faith. Don't leave the goal designing process casually. Casualness leads to casualty. Get serious about your better future. If you want to get healthy, get serious about your health. If you want to get rich, get serious about becoming wealthy. If you want to experience great love, get serious about your commitment to relationships, etc. Astound yourself, bewilder your friends, family, and competition. And lastly, never, never, never give up. Develop a hardcore devotion to your better you. Have an obnoxious commitment to your goals. Be unreasonable, uncompromising. If you've gone as far as you can still go a little bit further. It's on the extra mile where the success is obtained. Extra effort, extra hours, extra preparation, extra care, and extra calls. Extra is what separates you from average. It's the extra that goes in front of the ordinary to make you extraordinary. You are going to make mistakes. You're going to get off track. You're going to fail, fall down, trip up, get down, become discouraged, feel defeated, become overwhelmed, and hit the wall. That's okay. It happens to everyone. It's called being human. Just plan on it and plan for it and just get back on track. As Calvin Coolidge said, press on. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. As you go through the trials and tribulations of striving to achieve your goals, know that success is closer than you think. It can be darkest just before light. A transformative, defining moment might be only steps away. It might be in the next phone call, the next meeting, the next person that you meet. The key is to just keep moving forward. Persistence is the ability to face your fears again and again without giving up, to push on in the face of great difficulty. So go for it. The power is now in your hands. You now have everything you need to achieve everything you've ever wanted. Just go for it. One step at a time, one foot in front of the other. The journey of 1,000 miles starts this very moment. Take your first step forward now. Pursue your better future with unbridled enthusiasm. Now is the time. Go out and live the life you were meant to live. So, right now, go complete the worksheet on what you will do in the next 30 days and in the next 24 hours. Do it now. And then I will walk you through how to use your achievement management system. Your achievement management system. Now it is time to create an execution system, a system to implement your plan, a plan for the real world, your world. There's a big difference between setting goals and then seeing them through to achievement. Some of the best intentions and greatest laid plans have failed because there wasn't a system of execution. This achievement management system, or AMS, will make the difference between dreaming and accomplishing your big, hairy, audacious goals. The difference between having dreams and living your dreams. This system will help you overcome the greatest pitfall to achieving your goals. It isn't writing your goals, or making plans to achieve them, or even getting started. Many people go through those few steps but still don't achieve their goals. Millions of people make New Year's resolutions or even set goals. So really, as a society, we don't lack the will to start. Everyone starts. They sign up for gym memberships, they buy diet books, they go to seminars, they start their new prospecting plan, their new date night plan, their new meditation plan, their new study plan, but very few continue. Very few see it through. When it comes down to it, your new plans, your new actions, your new behaviors have to be implemented into a monthly, weekly, and ultimately a daily routine. A routine is something that you do every day without fail and eventually without even thinking about it. Consider this. Anything you've become successful at doing, you've probably developed a routine for it. How do you remember to keep your teeth healthy, your pantry full, your children dressed, fed, and on time for school every day, etc.? You have incorporated the daily behaviors into a routine. We also develop routines to keep ourselves sane. If we had to consciously think about every step of each ordinary task, making breakfast, driving the kids to school, getting to work, and so on, our lives would grind to a screeching halt. Aristotle said, "We are what we repeatedly do." When I interviewed John C. Maxwell, he said this: "You will never change your life until you change something you do daily. The secret of your success is found in your daily routine." I have met and worked with many great achievers, CEOs, and superstars, and I can tell you they all share this one commonality. They have developed systems to get the daily disciplines they need to get done. A daily routine built on good habits and disciplines is the distinguishing difference that separates the most successful amongst us from everyone else. So now we need to take your big goals and your strategic plan to achieve them and build your OS, or your operating system, for your life. Let me give you my definition of commitment. Doing the thing you said you were going to do long after the mood that you said it in has left you. The mood you are in right now, maybe fired up to conquer the world, eventually will wane. And that is when you're going to need your automatic operating system to kick in. And that is why this achievement management system is so essential. Use and commit to this system, and it will be what helps you see through to the accomplishment of your goals when you might have given up on them before. It is the system that will finally help you realize that dream home. Take those magnificent vacations. Provide generous support for your family, church, or charity, and accomplish all the comforts and contributions you've always wanted to make. The achievement management system acts like a compass, keeping you on the most direct path towards your goals. As I documented in The Compound Effect, a plane going from Los Angeles to New York would end up 150 miles off course from its intended destination by being pointed only 1 degree off course. The interesting fact is the plane traveling from LA to New York would be off track more than 80% of the time along its journey. Yet each time the plane drifts slightly off course, its computerized gyroscope corrects its course, reinforcing its most direct and efficient path. If the plane hits unexpected conditions, such as bad weather, the gyroscope recalibrates and holds the nose of the plane directly towards its destination. On the journey towards your goals, you too will be off track more than 80% of the time. The key is to have your own gyroscope tracking system to pull you back on track. You too will hit unexpected external conditions and need a system to recalibrate your path and then re-guide you back towards your goal. That is what this achievement management system will do for you. The achievement management system is oriented around the process we've talked about before: plan, do, review, and improve. You have now set your goals and made a plan to achieve them. Now the AMS will assist you in tracking your doing process and assist you in reviewing your progress and evaluating how you need to improve to keep you moving forward. Let me outline each step. Plan. In step 7 of Living Your Best Year Ever, we outlined your plan to accomplish your goals. But like all plans, nothing goes according to plan. It is said if you want to make God chuckle, tell him your plans. Having consulted for hundreds of companies and entrepreneurs, I can tell you no business ever grew according to the plans beautifully crafted in their business plan. Some grew faster, some slower, and some became something completely unexpected and exceedingly greater than could have ever been imagined initially. I remind you once again what Dwight D. Eisenhower said. In preparing for battle, I always found that plans are useless, but that planning is indispensable. The process of planning activates both your creative and analytical brain. That synergy identifies new possibilities and imbues belief that it can actually be accomplished. Intangible ideas, hopes, dreams, and desires are made material, and a charted course makes what was once an abstract vision actually visible. But just like the well-laid plans of war will be thrown out once the battle has begun, So too will your plans be when you get into the doing part of accomplishing your goals. Okay, next in the plan, do, review, and improve process, do. In step 8, we discuss taking action, the actual doing part. This is what I call the great pitfall of where many dreams, goals, and ambitions go to die. As discussed already, anyone can start, but few finish. Many can do once, twice, or even for a few months, but eventually, most peter out. Regardless of your experience, skill level, or even the quality of your competition, with enough time, you can win at almost anything every time. In fact, the only thing that can stop you now from accomplishing all the goals that you've set is not utilizing this next principle that I will talk about. And it's the number one reason why incredibly talented and intensely motivated people fail to attain what they want in life. I used to get frustrated when I would start a new venture and I'd see the competition leap out in front and get off to a faster, more successful start. Then I found the single principle that gives me an advantage to beat anybody at almost anything. What is it? Consistency. A lot of people become gung-ho about new goals or achievements, and then they charge out of the gate in an explosion of activity. But their intensity and commitment quickly fizzle. Meanwhile, those who begin the journey with less flash but a greater commitment to consistency eventually catch up to their flamboyant peers and leave them in the dust. Do what most people don't. Stay consistent. Lack of consistency is the subtle stealer of dreams and ambitions. The stop and start process kills progress in any pursuit. In fact, inconsistency is one of the biggest reasons people don't achieve their goals and instead end up living a life of frustration and disappointment. As Jim Rohn said, you will suffer one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. When you start thinking about slacking off on your action plan, routines, and rhythms, consider the massive cost of inconsistency. It is not the loss of a single action and the tiny results that little action would have created. It is the utter collapse and loss of momentum your progress will suffer. Let me give you an analogy to make this make sense. Imagine one of those old-time hand-pumped water wells, where the water table, let's say, is 25 feet below the ground. A pipe runs down to the water table and you have to pump the lever at the ground surface to create suction that brings the water above the ground and out the spout. When most people start a new endeavor, they grab the lever and start pumping. They're excited, committed, and resolute. They pump and pump and pump. And after a few minutes or a few weeks, when they don't see any water or results, they give up pumping the lever altogether. Maybe it was the first few people they showed the product to didn't buy, or after a couple of weeks on their new health plan, they haven't lost 1 pound. They didn't meet anyone on the first 2 networking events they attended. People expect instant results, and when they don't see progress, they quit before success has even had a chance to show itself. Wise people will continue to pump. If they persevere and continue to pump and pump and pump the lever, eventually a few drops of water will appear. At this point, a lot of people say, you've got to be kidding. All this pumping and for what? A few drops of water? Forget it. 8 weeks of working out at the gym and they don't look like a Victoria's Secret or a Calvin Klein underwear model? They didn't make $10,000 the first 90 days in their new business? Again, they don't see the results that they were expecting. They think their plan isn't working and they quit. But a wise person persists. If you continue to pump, eventually you'll get a full, steady stream of water. Congratulations, success. But here's the real secret. Once the water is flowing, you no longer need to pump the lever as hard or as quickly. It is easy to keep the pressure steady by just pumping the lever consistently. So then, what happens if you stop consistently putting a little stroke on the lever? The water will fall all the way back down into the ground, and you're back to square one. If you come back and pump the lever real easily and steadily, you won't get any water. You have lost the vacuum or the momentum of your compounded effort. The only way to get the water flowing again is to pump the lever really hard, really long, all over again, just to get back to where you were. People start a routine of making, let's say, 10 new prospecting calls a day, strike a little gold, and then they don't dial for a couple of weeks. People get excited about their new date night routine with their spouse, but in a few weeks, it's back to the same old couch on Friday nights. I see people buy a new book, sign up for a new program, or go to a seminar, and then go like crazy for a couple of weeks or months. Then they stop and end up right back where they started. Does that sound familiar? Consistency is one of the most important principles of success. What people don't realize is that by breaking their rhythm, they kill momentum, and that is the real tragedy. The cost to revive momentum is an enormous amount of time, energy, and effort, not to advance, but to just get back to where you started. Applying consistent effort to your goals will forever alter how you could live your life. One moment of inconsistency, a single poor choice, or brief lapse of discipline doesn't simply result in the loss of that one action, it breaks your momentum. Big Mo will have now left the building. It is not how you or your competition start. It's how you continue. If you stay consistent, even slowly, the tortoise, ultimately you will beat the most talented of competitors, the hare. Consistency is why the tortoise always beats the hare every time. I can hear you asking, okay, I get my ability to stay consistent long after my initial mood of commitment has left me will be the key to my success, so how do I keep myself consistent? To do that, I want to give you one of the most profound documents you will ever use in your life. It is called the Weekly Rhythm Register. If you've been puzzled about how to make sense of all that you've learned through this entire program, this is how. The Weekly Rhythm Register is the dashboard that rolls up everything we've outlined in the program thus far into a simple daily tracking and accountability system, all on a single page. I have a process I call the massive transformation formula. You do want a massive transformation in your life, don't you? If so, there's a simple 3-step formula. Here it comes. 1. List your top 3 goals. After your entire life has been assessed and you've thought through everything you want to accomplish in every area of your life, it is important to boil it down to your top 3. Ta-da! You've already done this. Those are your banner goals that you discovered in step 5 of your grand design. Your mind and creative drive can only focus on a few things at a time. Give it too much to focus on, and focus is lost entirely. But with this system, you can manage the pursuit of what you have declared as your most important and top banner goals. Here's number 2. List 1 to 3 key behaviors that you need to accomplish each of those goals. It is said you are 1, 2, or 3 key behaviors away from a massive transformation in any area of your life. I mean, think about it. Improving your marriage. Just a few consistent behavior changes would transform your current connection and intimacy. Your sales results. I am sure that a few consistent behaviors would massively transform your results. This is true in your health, parenting, networking, relationships, any area of your life. Here's number 3. Track your actions. This is where the accountability to consistency comes in. The problem is most people are unconscious of their actions. Scientific researchers will tell you that more than 95% of all our behavior is performed without conscious thought. You can say that we sleepwalk through most of our life. The only way to change these unconscious patterns is to become constantly conscious of the new behaviors and actions we need to take in order to see our massive transformation realized. If you need some more support on this, definitely pick up a copy of the Compound Effect book and audio program. This program will aid your ability to make better choices and stay consistent with your behavior so they become ingrained habits. Check out thecompoundeffect.com for more. So, on the Weekly Rhythm Register, list out your top 3 banner goals and then the 1 to 3 key behaviors you need to be consistent with to accomplish each goal. Now, set a goal for the number of times that you will perform that behavior throughout the week. At the end of the week, you will tally up your actual from your goal and see how you did. Refer to your Living Your Best Year Ever book to see an example. And that leads us to the next step of the plan, do, review, and improve part of the process. Review. The review part, like the gyroscope, is constantly checking to see where you are by comparison to where you should be. You made a plan of what you were going to do. You did it. Now you have to look back and see how you did. The problem with most people is they do, but never stop to assess how well they are doing. It's like a golfer who practices on the practice tee box for hours on end, only to repeat and ingrain his bad habit patterns deeper, making his golf game worse. No, you have to regularly review to see how you're doing so you can see any bad patterns and make immediate course corrections. I remember when I was a waiter in high school. Before we could go home, we had to do what was called cash out, meaning turn in all our receipts, credit card slips, and cash. Everything had to add up or there was big trouble. You want to develop the same discipline in your life as well. The first review is at the end of each day. This won't take but a minute. Simply check off the behaviors you performed relative to your plan on your weekly rhythm register. Next is at the end of the week. This is when you tally up each day's results and see if you're on plan, behind plan, or ahead of plan. At the end of the week is when I suggest taking a deeper inventory as well. To keep myself accountable to this weekly review, I have what I call a peak performance partner. Every Friday at 11 a.m. sharp, we have a 30-minute call during which we trade our wins. These are 1 to 3 major accomplishments of the week. Losses, that is 1 to 3 areas of commitments you failed on. Fixes, what you will do next week to ensure that doesn't happen again. And ahas, greatest learning experiences throughout the week. And then we give each other feedback and hold each other accountable. We are both busy executives, but we are religious about making this happen. I know that I have pushed myself harder throughout the week, just knowing I needed to report on my promised progress by Friday. And the preparation of my report has helped me pause to reflect and take inventory on the victories as well as the defeats and what I will do to ensure I don't unconsciously repeat them going forward. Which leads us perfectly to the last part of the plan, do, review, and improve process. Improve. This is the step of the process where you will gain strides on your competition. A constant awareness and never-ending commitment to growth and continual improvement is what will catapult you forward, enabling you to achieve what seemed before to be impossible goals. We know that to achieve what you've never been able to achieve before, you have to grow and improve yourself to levels that you are not yet at. Your commitment to ongoing improvement is what will get you there. Scientific research has now concluded that there's no such thing as a quote-unquote born genius predestined for greatness. And there's no such thing as innate talent either. I know that sounds outrageous. Certainly you are thinking of people like Einstein, Mozart, Da Vinci, Tiger Woods, Lance Armstrong, Bill Gates, the Beatles, Elvis, or others. But a study of each of those cases in books like The Genius in All of Us by David Schenck and others reveals a truth that is different than any inborn advantage. In all cases, each of them and many others society has deemed as quote-unquote gifted developed what has become known as their talents through consistent, rigorous, unrelenting, and repeated improvement. They developed a nearly maniacal, obsessive drive to continually improve themselves, improve their skill, their performance, and their outcomes. Malcolm Gladwell also wrote about this in his book, Outliers, and explained that mastery is developed through about 10,000 hours of deliberate, concentrated, and focused practice. The only thing that separates average achievers and superachievers is their dedication to improvement. The fantastic news in all of this is greatness doesn't come from DNA. There's no such thing as innate talent or genius. So that means we can all become genius and reach mastery in any area of our life if we commit to a process of deliberate and purposeful improvement. In his book, Human, All Too Human, written in 1878, Friedrich Nietzsche described greatness as being steeped in a process and of great achievers being tireless participants in that process. As a vivid illustration, Nietzsche cited Beethoven's sketchbooks, which reveal the composer's slow, painstaking process of testing and tinkering with the melody fragments like a chemist constantly pouring different concoctions into an assortment of beakers. Beethoven would sometimes run through as many as 60 or 70 different drafts of a phrase before settling on the final one. Beethoven once remarked to a friend, "I make many changes and reject and try again and again until I'm satisfied." Yet neither Nietzsche's articulation nor Beethoven's candid admission of his process caught on with the general public. Instead, the simpler and more alluring idea of giftedness prevailed and has since been carelessly and breathlessly reinforced by biologists, psychologists, educators, and the media. Even with all the repeated and reinforced scientific evidence to disprove the myth of innate giftedness, it will live on as long as human beings do. Why? Because as a society, we still rely on the myth. A belief in inborn gifts and limits is much gentler on the psyche. The reason you aren't a great musician, leader, communicator, parent, spouse, athlete, salesperson, or whatever is because you weren't, quote-unquote, wired to be one. Thinking of talent as innate makes our world more manageable, more comfortable. It relieves a person of the burden of expectation. It also relieves people of distressing comparisons. If Tiger Woods, Michael Phelps, Roger Federer, Richard Branson, Steve Jobs, and others are just innately great, we can feel casually jealous of their genetic luck while avoiding the disappointment in ourselves. If, on the other hand, one of us truly believed ourselves capable of Tiger or Jobs-like achievement, the burden of expectation and disappointment could be profound. However, if you would like to access your potential greatness and achieve mastery-level performance, then know the idea of deliberate practice and deliberate improvement is serious work and requires a serious commitment and consistency. As explained further in The Genius in All of Us, playing lots of chess or soccer or golf, or in your case, making a lot of sales calls, doing a lot of public speaking, performing a lot of trainings, negotiating a lot of contracts, whatever it is not enough. A desire for improvement is not enough. Simply taking lessons from a wonderful teacher is not enough. Deliberate improvement requires a mindset of never, ever being satisfied with your current ability. It requires a constant self-critique and a mindset that disappointment and failure is actually desired. It requires a never-ending resolve to dust oneself off and try again and again and again. It also requires enormous, life-altering amounts of time, a daily grinding commitment to becoming better. In the long run, the results can be highly satisfying. But in the short term, from day to day and month to month, there's nothing particularly fun about the process or the substantial sacrifices involved. As Anders Ericsson wrote in the Cambridge Handbook of Expertise and Expert Performance, there's a clear distinction between leisure players, who tend to enjoy themselves casually much of the time, and the dedicated achievers, who become glued to the gritty process of getting better. Now, can you live a great life without this extraordinary commitment to mastery? Yes, of course. But I challenge you to live a life of excellence. I believe excellence is a guilty pleasure, and it is respected, admired, and serves as the triumphant accomplishment of those unwilling to accept anything less. Excellence requires us to live with nobility, honor, and integrity. It requires us to keep our promises, commitments, do what's right, even when no one is looking or even when someone has wronged you. Of all the great pursuits in life, to me, this is the most important. Every virtue, treasure, and reward in life is obtained only through this quest. What's that grand quest? Living your potential. The author Robert Louis Stevenson put it this way: to become what we are capable of becoming is the only end in life. But what is this thing called potential? Webster's dictionary defines potential as possible as opposed to actual, capable of being or becoming, or latent excellence or the ability that may or may not be developed. So potential then is what you can become. It is the best possible version of yourself. As Abraham Lincoln said, whatever you are, be a good one. The first challenge, I believe, to living our potential is realizing the greatness that is dormant inside each of us. Thomas Edison said, if we did all the things we are capable of, we would literally astound ourselves. Dale Carnegie also taught, we all have possibilities we don't know about. We can do things we don't even dream we can do. So why don't we then? I think what stops most of us from tapping our inner genius, the hero or heroine inside each of us, is fear. We're actually afraid of our greater potential. 19th century philosopher Soren Kierkegaard said it this way: there is nothing of which every man is so afraid as getting to know how enormously much he is capable of doing and becoming. As Nelson Mandela says, there is no passion to be found in playing small, in settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living. I think our greatest natural resource is this: the difference between what we are and what we are capable of becoming. In fact, living at a level below our God-given potential is life-threatening, literally. Psychologists tell us that nothing creates internal stress and trauma more than when what you are doing on the outside, your actions and behaviors, is incongruent with your potential on the inside. Many people tragically live out the days of their life without ever having lived at all. They die with their wishes and dreams still inside. It was Abraham Maslow that warned, "If you plan on being anything less than you are capable of being, you will probably be unhappy all the days of your life." So then, where to start? You start by realizing your greatness, understanding the unfathomable strength, courage, and capability that has been gifted to you, but you have yet to fully unwrap. Anne Frank wrote, "Everyone has inside him a piece of good news. The good news is that you don't know how great you can be, how much you can love, what you can accomplish, and what your potential is." Pope John XIII pointed the way when he said, "Consult not your fears, but your hopes and your dreams. Think not about your frustrations, but about your unfilled potential. Concern yourself not with what you've tried and failed in, but with what is still possible for you to do." I'd put it this way: if you are still breathing, your purpose is not yet fulfilled. And lastly, I want to prod you by the encouraging words from the late, great Jim Rohn when he said, "The big challenge of life is to become all that you have the possibility of becoming. You cannot believe what it does to the human spirit to maximize your human potential and stretch yourself to the limit." So that is what I want to encourage you to do. Use the plan, do, review, and improve process to continually check in on your progress and make the adjustments necessary to push yourself through the ongoing gritty process of continually getting better and better and better until one day you're nearly unrecognizable to your friends and family. You will be living up to your greater potential and living a life of excellence. Certainly your lifestyle, your relationships, your body, vitality, and bank account will be fantastically unrecognizable by comparison to where you're starting today. Now, let's talk about the support you're going to need for your journey forward in the pursuit of your ambitious goals. In order to perform at world-class levels, you have to set up the environment around you that will support your world-class performance living. That is what this additional training that's not covered in the book will provide for you. Developing a support system for excellence. The purpose of this additional training is to awaken ourselves to the many influences that can push us off course. In the preceding sessions, I will discuss 3 of the most powerful influences that affect our life and our ability to stay the course in achieving our cherished goals. The path toward achieving your goals is littered with a minefield of powerful external influences. Most of us aren't even aware of the subtle control these forces have on our lives. For you to sustain your positive trajectory towards your goals, you'll need to understand these influences and learn how they can support rather than derail you on your journey towards success. Everyone is affected by 3 kinds of influences. 1, your environment, your surroundings. 2, input, what gets fed into your head. And 3, associations, the people with whom you surround yourself. The improper understanding and management of these influences can have devastating consequences on your life. At the same time, if you learn how to channel these forces in your favor, they can give you a magnificent advantage over everyone else around you, including your former self. I have written about these influences before, so I will pull from some of those training notes and discuss them with you here. Let's start off with the easiest, or I will say least dangerous of the 3 influences that will help or hinder you being able to achieve your big, hairy, audacious goals. Your environment. When I was in real estate working in the East Bay of San Francisco, I lived and worked within a very limited geography and demographic. I saw the same kinds of people operating at the same level over and over and over. I knew that I needed to find an elevated circle of associations in order to go where I wanted to go. My environment was limiting me. I started to drive across the bay to one of the richest and most beautiful spots on the planet, Tiburon in Marin County, north of San Francisco. If you've ever been to Monaco, that's what Tiburon looks like, but far quainter. It's a spectacular spot. I would go to a delightful seafood restaurant called Sam's on the Wharf. The food was great, but more importantly, the restaurant was popular with the area's more affluent residents. Aside from going to Sam's to expand my environment, I'd also go to the wharf and then look up at the hillside. I was mesmerized by the multi-million-dollar houses that literally hung off the cliffs. One in particular always caught my eye, a blue 4-story home with an elevator and a whale lightning rod at the top. I used to ask myself, what would be the perfect house? If someone could give me just one of them, which one would I pick? The answer was always the same, this big, beautiful blue one. It was in the perfect spot with a bright vista, the best of the bunch. On my way home from a Sam's visit one morning, I saw an open house sign and thought it would be fun to check it out. One sign led to another as I followed them zigzagging up the cliffs along narrow streets. I finally reached the top of the hill and found the advertised home. As I entered and walked up to a spectacular bay window, the world opened up in front of me. The peninsula tip of Tiburon, Angel Island across the bay, Berkeley and the East Bay and the Bay Bridge and the entire city's San Francisco skyline over to the Golden Gate Bridge in a 300-degree expanse. I walked out onto the balcony and looked around. Suddenly, I realized that this was the very house I had been looking at for years. This was the blue house. I signed the contract on the spot. My dream house was now mine. And who says goal setting doesn't work? I can't really say that I met anybody at Sam's who changed my life. However, that environment had a powerful effect on me. Seeing those homes up on the cliff fueled my ambition and expanded my dreams. I ended up working harder than I ever thought possible to make those dreams come true. And they did. The dream in your heart may be bigger than the environment in which you find yourself. Sometimes you have to get out of that environment to see that dream fulfilled. It's like planting an oak sapling in a pot. Once it becomes root-bound, its growth is limited. It needs a great space to become a mighty oak. So do you. When I talk about your environment, I'm not just referring to where you live. I'm referring to what surrounds you. Creating a positive environment to support your success means clearing out all the clutter in your life. Not just the physical clutter that makes it hard for you to work productively and efficiently, although that's important too, but also the psychic clutter of whatever around you isn't working, whatever's broken, whatever makes you cringe. Each and every incomplete thing in your life exerts a draining force on you, sucking the energy of accomplishment and success out of you as surely as a vampire stealing your blood. Every incomplete promise, commitment, and agreement saps your strength because it blocks your momentum and inhibits your ability to move forward. Incomplete tasks keep calling you back to the past to take care of them. So think about what you can complete today. Additionally, when you're creating an environment to support your goals, remember that you get in life what you tolerate. This is true in every area of your life, particularly with your relationships with family, friends, and colleagues. What you have decided to tolerate is also reflected in the situations and circumstance of your life right now. Put another way, you will get in life what you accept and expect you are worthy of. If you tolerate disrespect, you will be disrespected. If you tolerate people being late and making you wait, people will show up late for you. If you tolerate being underpaid and overworked, that will continue for you. If you tolerate your body being overweight, tired, and perpetually sick, it will be. It's amazing how life will organize around the standards you set for yourself. Some people think they're victims of other people's behavior, but in actuality, we have control over how people treat us. It is up to you to protect your emotional, mental, and physical space so you can live with peace rather than in the chaos and stress the world will hurl upon you. Okay, so are you with me? Are you ready to do some spring cleaning in your environment, the one you live in and the one that lives in your head? Well, then first off, I urge you to leave the 5 square miles that surrounds your home. Hang out in the places where the people who have the life you are looking to grow into hang out every once in a while. It has an intoxicating effect on your creative drive. Here's influence number 2, and it's a big one. Input. Garbage in, garbage out. If you want your body to run at peak performance, you've got to be vigilant about consuming the highest quality nutrients and avoiding tempting junk food. If you want your brain to perform at its peak, you've got to be even more vigilant about what you feed it. Are you feeding it shocking and salacious news headlines or lewd and mind-numbing sitcoms? Are you reading trash celebrity tabloids? Controlling the input has a direct and measurable impact on your productivity and outcomes. Controlling what our brains consume is especially difficult because so much of what we take in is unconscious. Although it's true we can eat without thinking, it is easier to pay attention to what we put in our bodies because food doesn't just leap into our mouths. We need an extra level of vigilance to prevent our brains from absorbing irrelevant, counterproductive, or downright destructive input. It is a never-ending battle to be selective and to stand guard against any information that can derail your creative potential. Here is a startling fact. Your brain is not designed to make you happy. Does that surprise you? It does most people. No, your brain has only one job: survival. Its only care is to keep you alive. It is always watching for signs of what is called lack and attack. Your brain is programmed to seek out the negative: danger, threat, alarm, terror, and harm, whatever is out to potentially hurt you. So when you switch on the radio on the way to work and get bombarded with all the reports about murders, robberies, fires, attacks, scandals, the tanking economy, etc., your brain lights up like a Christmas tree. And now it will spend all day chewing over that feast of fear, worry, and negativity. Same deal when you tune into the evening news after work. More bad news? Perfect. Your mind will stew on that all night long. Left to its own devices, your mind will traffic in the negative, worrisome, and fearful all day and all night. We can't change our DNA, but we can change our behavior. Here is one big key to understand. Where your attention goes, so goes your life. What controls our focus controls our life. Because where our focus goes, energy flows, so goes the direction of our life. I remember when we interviewed Mario Andretti for his feature in Success, I asked, what is your greatest tip to being a successful race car driver? He said, never look at the wall. He said, wherever your eyes go, your car follows. Living in San Diego, I know that this is also true about surfing. You are taught to point your eyes in the direction you want your board to go. If you are a tightrope walker, what is the one thing you never do? Look down, right? Your body will follow your eyes. That is why you have to be supremely careful about where you point your eyes. So, there are two ways to manage your mind for excellence. The first one is protect. Stand guard at the doorway of your mind. Unless you decide to hole up in a cave or on a desert island, you're going to get dirty water in your glass. It's going to be on billboards, on CNN while you're walking through the airport, on screaming tabloid headlines at the checkout when you're buying your groceries, etc. Even your friends, family, and your own negative mental tapes can flood dirty water into your glass. But that doesn't mean you can't take steps to limit your exposure to all that grime. Maybe you can't avoid the tabloids stacked up at the checkout register, but you can cancel your subscription. You can refuse to listen to the radio to and from work and instead put in an instructional and inspirational CD. You can turn off the evening news and talk to your loved ones instead. You can buy a DVR and record only those programs you feel are truly educational and life-affirming, and then speed through the commercials aimed at making you feel inadequate or lacking unless you buy more crap. Let me give you a few suggestions on how to better control the information you let into your head and still manage your life. Here's number one. I want to show you how you can completely change the world in an instant. This might be a bit controversial for many, and even more won't have the stomach to do what I'm suggesting. You can rid the world of all wars, crimes, scandals, gossip, corruption, international conflict in an instant. No joke. You have that much power in the palm of your hand. Are you ready to change the world? If you dare, hit the off button. Turn off your TV, turn off your radio, turn off your newspaper subscription. The media thrives on taking us hostage. Have you ever been stuck on a freeway with traffic backed up for miles, making you late, wondering what the heck's holding everything up? Sure enough, when you finally get close, you see that nothing physical is blocking the flow of cars. The wreck clearly happened a while ago and has since been moved to the side of the freeway. The 3-mile-per-hour crawl was caused by people doing what? Rubbernecking. Now you're really irritated, but what happens when your car passes the wreck? You slow way down, take your eyes off the road in front of you, and crane your own neck. You can't help it, can you? Why do good, decent people want to see something tragic and maybe grotesque? It is our genetic heritage, going back to our prehistoric sense of self-preservation. We just can't help ourselves, even if we're adept at avoiding negativity, and we've trained ourselves to be relentlessly positive. When it comes to sensationalism, our basic nature cannot resist. Media masters understand this. They know your nature in many ways better than you. The media has always used shocking and sensational headlines to draw attention. But today, instead of just 3 TV and news radio networks, there are hundreds running 24/7. Instead of just a few newspapers, there are endless portals reaching us from our computers to our phones. The competition for your attention has never been bloodier, and the media jockeys continually up the ante in shock value. They find a dozen or so of the most heinous, scandalous, criminal, murderous, bleak, and horrid things that happen in the world each day and parade them through our papers, news channels, and over the web over and over. Meanwhile, during that same 24-hour period, millions of wonderful, beautiful, incredible things have happened, yet we hear very little about them. Why? Because it is the shock that sells. Let's go back to our freeway. Instead of a wreck on the side of the road, what if there was the most stunning, miraculous sunset you've ever seen? What would happen to the traffic then? I've seen this many times. It just whizzes by at top speed. The great danger of the media is that it gives us a very perverted view of the world. Because the focus and the repetition of messaging is on the negative, that's what our minds start believing. This warped and narrow view of what's not working has a severe influence on your creative potential. It can be crippling. Here's the controversial part. Early on, I learned the difference between the world and my world. I only pay attention to my world. After all, it's the only thing I can do anything about. Paying too much attention to the rest of it only makes me feel fearful, frustrated, and cynical. All I have in my life is my attention. Where I give my attention, so goes my life. I have to make a choice about where I give it. That choice affects my experience of life and determines my potential for positive creativity. I can focus it on the worst of the world or the best. I can focus it on things I can't do anything about, or I can focus it on those things that I can and that have a direct impact on my life and my family. And I can tell you this practice has not limited my intellectual capacity, my social banter, or my financial opportunities. In fact, it has benefited me immensely in all those areas. If you don't have the stomach for that kind of cold turkey cord cutting, consider the next suggestion. Suggestion number 2, selective listening. I set up RSS feeds to pull information on specifically what I do need to stay on top of for my productive purposes. I register for newsletters or blog updates on topics and subjects that are relevant to my objectives. Once they become unproductive, I unsubscribe. Does this make you not well-rounded, you ask? There's no such thing. We are always scanning the world for what is relevant to us. I just don't think it's necessary to pick through the trash can looking for a crust of bread when I can have the bread I want delivered to my doorstep. I also don't get the trash on me or in my head. Here's suggestion number 3. Go on a diet. A low information diet, that is. If you aren't comfortable getting only the most productive and relevant information you need to be more successful, then at least put yourself on a low info diet. Limit your intake of news and information. You don't need to be tied to every Wall Street Journal financial crisis text update. You don't need to be up on all the local news crime status. The world will go on just fine without your constant watchful eye. Trust me. If you must, find 15 minutes a day to catch up on all the national and world news updates, whether through a favorite news aggregator online, newspaper, or single radio program. Then, don't overconsume. It's riddled with toxic ingredients. Here is a 4th suggestion that will lead us to the second way to manage your mind for excellence. Suggestion number 4, mind your E to E ratio. I interviewed Brian Tracy recently. He had a great equation that I'd like to share with you. I asked him, what is the primary difference between the 5% who are wealthy and those that are not? He said the 95% focus their attention and extra time on entertainment, while the 5% look to spend their extra time on education. Evaluate yourself. How much time do you spend on entertainment and how much time on education? The imbalance of this equation could be the reason your life isn't where you want it to be. Let me challenge you with something. Most people go through life like spectators, resolved to live vicariously through other people's achievements. I've always found it fascinating and downright baffling why people spend so much time studying and discussing the statistics, wins, losses, trades, and career moves of sports stars and actors and actresses. If they spent half as much time studying their own statistics and exercised the same fanatical enthusiasm about their own life's competitions, it would be them living the victorious life. Instead, they abdicate their own life, goals, and ambitions, allocating their precious time to revering the achievements of other men and women, people who, if they met in an alley, would probably not slow their pace to offer their signature. I'm simply prodding you with the thought to get out of the bleachers and off the couch and get in the game. Spend the majority of your time on the field of your life and focus all of your life force on your victories and the victories of the people around you in the real world, not the world portrayed on the big screens and the little screens of movies and TV. Look, a little entertainment, a break from your conquests out in the marketplace is fine. That is what the other E in the E to E ratio stands for. I'm just proposing you don't get too wrapped up in the chronicles, gossip, and media titillations of these people's careers and lives. Care more about your life, stats, victories, and defeats than other people's. Did you know that it's estimated that Americans, 12 and older, spend 1,704 hours watching TV per year? That averages out to 4.7 hours per day. We're spending almost 30% of our waking hours watching TV. Almost 33 hours per week, more than one whole day per week. It is the equivalent of watching TV for 2 solid months out of every 12. Wow! And people wonder why they're not getting ahead in life. So, if you do click that off button, what then? What do you do with all this extra time? Now, let's look at the second way to manage your mind for excellence. 1 is to protect it, and 2 is to feed it. If you want to think differently, you have to feed your mind the thoughts, ideas, and inspiration it needs to help you achieve your ambitions and goals. Your mind needs a regular diet of nutrient-rich food, bread for the head, as Jim Rohn calls it. I consider the feeding of my mind like a race. I want to feed my mind faster, more often, and with the best possible training, knowledge, and insights than anyone else around me. I'm looking to feed my mind at absolutely every opportunity. 10 minutes here, 30 minutes there, an extra hour early in the morning or late at night. Minute by minute, I can feel myself inching further ahead of my contemporaries until I'm not even visible to them on the distant horizon. Here is one practice that stacks on the hours and gets me miles ahead, literally. My car won't move without 2 things: gasoline and an ever-present library of instructional CDs that I listen to as I drive around. As a society, we average about 12,000 miles a year. That's 300 hours of feeding time, baby. Brian Tracy taught me early in life to turn my car into a mobile classroom. He explained that if you listen to instructional CDs as you drive, each year is the equivalent of 2 semesters of an advanced degree in college. Think about it. In the time you are already spending, you could obtain a PhD in leadership, sales success, wealth building, relationship excellence, whatever course, CD program you sign up for. This combined with a regular reading routine, and you could separate yourself from the herd of average, CD by CD, book by book. And certainly, I recommend the CDs that come free inside every issue of Success magazine. Could I be the ambassador for success and not passionately recommend it to you? Of course not. Additionally, we offer success book summaries, which culls the best ideas from 3 of the top books in the area of accelerated personal achievement. Each edition is also delivered in audio format, so you can listen to it in your car. These resources are a few of the many available to you. The key is to choose your input wisely. Maximize your time, education, and ultimately your success by feeding your brain the information it needs to help you achieve your goals. I'll tell you, I'm listening to instructional content while I run, weight train, walk the dogs. Anytime my body is busy but my mind is free, it's feeding time, baby. Here's a simple plan that you can do no matter how busy you currently are in life, but can still get your mind flushed and fed every single day without fail. It's called the 10-30 plan. Simply put, every day, work day, you can take the weekends off if you must. We wouldn't want you to be overly personally developed or anything. Read 10 pages of a good book or magazine and listen to 30 minutes of an instructional audio. My recommendation is, say 5 pages in the morning when you first get up and 5 pages in the evening just before you go to bed. This will calibrate your head at the 2 most important bookends of your day. It will set your head straight in the morning, thinking about what's positive and what's possible, and fill your head full of ideas, dreams, and aspirations to work on all night long as you sleep. I'm a bit of an overachiever, so instead of just 5 pages, I read for 30 minutes in the morning when I first get up and 30 minutes just before lights out. No less, no more. So, does that give me an advantage? You bet it does. Remember, it's a race. This is an easy rhythm that I really enjoy and have come to rely on. Now, the 30 minutes of instructional audio will happen naturally if every time you drive around, go for a walk or run or walk the dogs or exercise, you are listening to instructional audios. When you do it is up to you, but without spending a single minute more than the activities you're already engaged in every day, you can get the 30 minutes of an instructional audio consumed and probably then some. Sounds simple enough? It really is, and will be what it takes to become the person who would achieve your goals and who would deserve them. Now, let me paint you a picture, mathematically, of the results this simple discipline and dedication to the 1030 plan can have in your life. Brian Tracy outlined this in his book called Focal Point about how to improve in any area of your life by 1,000%. No, not 10% or even 100%, but 1,000%. Let me detail it for you here. All you have to do is improve yourself, your performance, and your output and earnings by 0.1% each workday. That's 1/1,000th. Do you think you could do that? Of course, anyone could do that. It's simply a matter of staying consistent with your 1030 plan and practicing the new ideas you learn in your life each day. Simple. Do it each workday of the week and you'll improve by 0.5% each week. Translation, not much. Equaling 2% each month, which compounded adds up to 26% each year. Again, no overnight success story here. Your income now doubles each 2.9 years. By year 10, you can be performing and earning 1,000% of what you are now. Isn't that amazing? Do you want to have 1,000% more money in the bank 10 years from now than you do now? Or how about improving your marriage, the positive influence and connection with your kids, your leadership ability, your sales skills, your presentation skills, your health and vitality, whichever you choose to give energy by 1,000%. The spectacular part of all of this is you don't have to put in 1,000% more effort or work 1,000% more hours, just 0.1% improvement each day. That's it. All achieved by practicing the rhythm of the 1030 plan. So, are you going to do it? 10 pages of a good book or magazine, one in particular I recommend, and 30 minutes of an instructional audio per day. When I had lunch with Donnie Deutsch one time, I asked him, after interviewing hundreds of successful entrepreneurs and being one himself, what he thought the number one principle to success was. This was his answer. He said, "The most important thing I say is, are you learning every day? Are you growing every day? Are you being challenged every day? That is the key to success. The day that stops happening, the world's going to turn in the wrong direction for you." So, are you convinced? I sure hope so. Hey, I'm giving you the keys to the kingdom here, or as the story in the beginning told, I'm sending the rowboat, the powerboat, and the helicopter here. Just get on board. And here's the third, potentially disastrous or magnificent influence you must be extremely diligent about. This one I might suggest as the most insidious because it is so powerful, yet so subtle. Subtle and powerful are two dangerous combinations. What is this third influence? Your associations. Who is influencing you? Have you ever been walking with someone and then suddenly realized you are walking much slower than you normally walk to match their stride? Have you ever had the opposite experience where you found yourself walking at a much faster clip just to keep up with the person you're walking with? This is what happens in our lives. We end up matching the pace of the people around us. So, who do you spend most time with? Who are the people you most admire? Are those two groups of people exactly the same? If not, why not? Jim Rohn taught that we become the combined average of the 5 people we hang around the most. Rohn would say, we can tell the quality of our health, attitude, and income by looking at the people around us. The people with whom we spend our time determine what conversations dominate our attention, to which attitudes and opinions we are regularly exposed. Eventually, we start to eat what they eat, talk like they talk, read what they read, think like they think, watch what they watch, and treat people how they treat them, even dress like they dress. The funny thing is, more often than not, we are completely unaware of the similarities between us and our circle of 5. How are we not aware, you ask? Because your associations don't shove you in a direction, they nudge you ever so slightly over time. Their influence is so subtle that it's like being on an inner tube out in the ocean, feeling like you're floating in place until you look up and realize the gentle current has pushed you a half mile down the shore. Think of having friends who order greasy appetizers or a cocktail before dinner, and that's their routine, as is treating themselves to an after-dinner drink. Hang out with them long enough and you'll find yourself grabbing for the cheese nachos and the potato skins and joining them for that extra beer or glass of wine, matching their pace. Meanwhile, your other friends order healthy food, talk about the inspiring books they're reading, and their ambitions in their business, and you begin to assimilate their behaviors and habits. You read and talk about what they talk about, you see the movies they are excited about, you go to the places they recommend. The influence your friends have over you is subtle and can be positive or negative. Either way, the impact is incredibly powerful. Watch out. You cannot hang out with negative people and expect to have a positive life. The people with whom you habitually associate are called your reference group. According to research by social psychologist Dr. David McClellan of Harvard, your reference group determines as much as 95% of your success or failure in life. He concluded that our choice of a reference group, the people with whom you truly associate, was more important in determining your success or failure than any other single factor. Zig Ziglar puts it even simpler. He says, if you want to fly with the eagles, you can't continue to scratch with the turkeys. So then, let's evaluate what is the combined average income, health, or attitudes of the 5 people you spend the most of your time with. Does that answer frighten you? If so, the best way to increase your potential for whatever traits you desire is to spend the majority of your time with people who already possess those traits. You will then see the power of influence work for you rather than against you. The behaviors and attitudes which help them acquire the success you admire will begin to become part of your daily routine. Hang out with them long enough and you're likely to realize similar success outcomes in your life. Here's how Kathy Ireland put it when we interviewed her for Success. Kathy, by the way, is an incredibly impressive entrepreneur who stepped out of a modeling career and created a $1.4 billion retail sales brand. She said it this way: do you surround yourself with anchors or engines? In life, there are engines who propel us forward, believe in us, and are supportive, and then there are anchors who weigh everything down. I think it's important to stop and think, are you surrounding yourself with anchors or engines? Are you an anchor or an engine? Great advice, Kathy. Okay, so if you haven't already, jot down the names of those 5 people you hang around the most. Also, write down their main characteristics, both positive and negative. It doesn't matter who they are. It could be your spouse, your brother, your neighbor, or your assistant. Now, average them out. What's their average health and bank balance? What's their average relationship like? As you look at the results, ask yourself, is this list okay for me? Is this where I want to go? It may be time to reappraise and reprioritize the people whom you spend time with. These relationships can nurture you, starve you, or keep you stuck. Now that you've started to carefully consider with whom you are spending your time, let's go a little deeper. As Jim Rohn taught me, it's powerful to evaluate and shift your associations into 3 categories: disassociations, limited associations, and expanded associations. Find a peak performance partner. Another way to increase your exposure to expanded associations is by teaming up with a peak performance partner, someone as equally committed to study and personal growth as you. I mentioned this practice earlier in the Plan, Do, Review, and Improve section. This person should be someone you trust, someone bold enough to tell you what they really think about you, your attitudes, and your performance. It could be that this person is a longtime friend, but he or she may be someone who doesn't even know you well at all. The point is to get and give an unbiased, honest, outside perspective. My current accountability partner is my good friend Landon Taylor. Every Friday, we have a 30-minute call to discuss our weekly wins, losses, fixes, ahas, and where we are on our growth plans. As I mentioned before, the anticipation of that call and knowing that I have to be accountable to Landon keeps me extra committed throughout the week. Find a peak performance partner you can share your goals with and who will be strong enough to hold you firmly accountable to them. Invest in mentorship. Paul J. Meyer is another man who served as a mentor to me. Paul passed away in 2009 at age 81. Whenever I thought I was doing really big things, really playing at a high level, I'd get around Paul. He was my reality check. What he did before lunch was mind-boggling to me. I got to spend a lot of time with him. Paul bought one of my companies, and then I did a turnaround for one of his companies. He was a very powerful spirit in my life. After spending a couple hours with Paul, hearing about all his plans and ventures and activities, my head would spin. Just trying to make sense of all that he had going on exhausted me. After a time with Paul, I'd want to go home and take a nap. Have you ever been around a person like that? Just watching their energy exhausts you. But my association with him raised my game. His walking pace was my running pace. It expanded my ideas about how big I could play and how ambitious I could be. You have to get around people like that. You're never too good for a mentor. During my interview with Harvey Mackay, he told me this: I have 20 coaches, if you can believe it. I have a speech coach, I have a writing coach, I have a humor coach, I've got a language coach, and on and on. I've always found it interesting that the most successful people, the truly top performers, are the ones willing to hire and pay for the best coaches and trainers there are. I don't think that's an accident. It pays to invest in your improved performance. Finding and engaging a mentor doesn't need to be as mysterious or intimidating a process either. When I sat down with Ken Blanchard, he explained the simplicity of engaging a mentor. The first thing you want to remember with a mentor is that it doesn't need to take a lot of their time. He said the best advice I've ever gotten is in short clips. Having lunch or breakfast with somebody, just telling them what I was working on and asking their advice and all. You will be amazed how successful business people are willing to be mentors to people when it's not taking a lot of their time. John Wooden reinforced the desire others have of being mentors as well. He said, mentoring is your true legacy. It is the greatest inheritance you can give to others, and it should never end. It is why you get up every day, to teach and to be taught. He went on to explain that mentorship is also a two-way street. An individual needs to be open to being mentored. It is our responsibility to be willing to allow our lives and our minds to be touched, molded, and strengthened by the people who surround us. Be willing to pay for coaching. There's no better money spent than renting someone's brain and tapping their experience. Let me give you a huge bonus tip that I learned from Brian Tracy when I was only 19 years old, and it has fueled my entire personal development journey. Brian said, you want to take 10% of all you earn and use it to help other people. You want to take another 10% of all you earn and use it to help yourself by reinvesting in your own personal development. Brian taught the best financial investment you could ever make is in yourself. I thought, wow, that is a unique concept. So I did just that. When you're making $150,000 a year as a teenager, spending $15,000 on your personal development doesn't seem to be unreasonable. When you start earning $500,000 a year, or $1 million, or several million, you can see how this 10% investment can get harder to do. But you absolutely want to do it as it was the fuel that got you there. But it becomes a sizable chunk of change. I think this is why the very top performers amongst us are also the ones who hire and pay for the very best coaches. So I passed the challenge Brian gave to me, now to you. Take 10% of all you earn and use it to help other people. Take another 10% and help yourself. Invest it into your continued personal development. Let me end our time together with a story that I like my friend Jack Canfield tells. I think it sums up all that we've discussed about you pursuing your dreams no matter what the world around you tells you. There is a man named Monty Roberts who owns a horse ranch in San Isidro. Standing before a group of people at a fundraising event, Monty tells the story of a young man who was the son of a roaming horse trainer who would go from stable to stable, racetrack to racetrack, farm to farm, and ranch to ranch, training horses. As a result, the boy's high school career was continually interrupted. When he was a senior, he was asked to write a paper about what he wanted to be when he grew up. That night, he wrote a 7-page paper describing his goal of someday owning a horse ranch. He wrote about his dream in great detail and even drew a diagram of a 200-acre ranch showing the location of all the buildings, the stables, and the track. Then he drew a detailed floor plan with a 4,000-square-foot house that would sit on the 200-acre dream ranch. He put a great deal of his heart into the project, and the next day he proudly handed it to the teacher. 2 days later, he received his paper back. On the front of the page was a large red F with a note that read, "See me after class." The boy with the dream went to see his teacher after class and asked, "Why did I receive an F?" The teacher said, "This is an unrealistic dream for a boy like you. You have no money. You come from a nomadic family. You have no resources. Owning a horse ranch requires lots of money. You have to buy the land, you have to pay for the original breeding stock, and later you'll have to pay large stud fees. There's no way you could ever do it. Then the teacher added, if you will rewrite this paper with a more realistic goal, I will reconsider your grade. The boy went home and thought about it long and hard. He asked his father what he should do. His father said, look, son, you have to make up your own mind on this. However, I think it's a very important decision for you. Finally, after sitting with it for a week, the boy turned in the same paper, making no changes at all. He said, you keep the F, I'll keep my dream. Monty then turned to the assembled group and said, I tell you this story because I am that boy and you are sitting in my 4,000 square foot ranch house in the middle of my 200-acre horse ranch. I still have that school paper framed over the fireplace. He added, the best part of the story is that 2 summers ago, that same school teacher brought 30 kids to camp out on my ranch for a week. When the teacher was leaving, he said, look, Monty, I can tell you this now. When I was your teacher, I was something of a dream stealer. During those years, I stole a lot of kids' dreams. Fortunately, you had enough gumption to not give up on yours. So, as you turn off this audio program and start your journey forward in the pursuit of your seemingly impossible and fantastic goals, don't let anyone steal your dreams. Keep your why power in your heart, stay steadfast in your commitment, and follow your dreams with reckless abandon. Starting now, go out and live the life you were meant to live. All right, let's start with disassociations. You guard against the influences your children are exposed to and the people they hang around. You're aware of the influences these people could have on your children and the choices they make as a result. I believe this same principle should apply to you. You already know this. There are some people you might need to break away from completely. This might not be an easy step to take, but it's essential. You have to make the hard choice not to let certain negative influences affect you anymore. Determine the quality of life that you want to have and then surround yourself with the people who represent and support that vision. I'm constantly weeding out of my life people who refuse to grow and live positively. Growing and changing your associations is a lifelong process. Some people might say I'm too rigorous about it, but I'd like to be even more so. I had a business relationship with someone that I really liked, but when the economy got difficult, most of his conversation was focused on how horrible things were, how much his company was feeling the hit, and how hard it was out there. I said, man, you got to stop working on your presentation about how bad life is. I can hear you collecting all the data points to reinforce your beliefs. He persisted in seeing everything as more dour and hopeless than it was, and I decided we had no business doing business together any longer. When you make the tough decision to put up boundaries between you and the people who drag you down, realize that they'll fight you, especially those closest to you. Your decision to live a more positive, goal-oriented life will be a mirror to their own poor choices. You will make them uncomfortable, and they will attempt to pull you back down to their level. Next, limited associations. There are some people who you can spend 3 hours with, but not 3 days. Others you can spend 3 minutes with, but not 3 hours. Always remember that the influence of associations is both powerful and subtle. The person you're walking with can determine whether you slow your pace or quicken it, literally and figuratively. Additionally, you can't help but be touched by the dominant attitudes, actions, and behaviors of the people whom you spend time with. Decide how much you can afford to be influenced based on how those people represent themselves. This is difficult, I know. I've had to do this on several occasions, even with close family members. I will not, however, allow someone else's actions or attitudes to have a dampening influence on me. I've got a neighbor who is a 3-minute friend. For 3 minutes, we can have a great chit-chat, but we wouldn't mesh for 3 hours. I can hang out with an old high school friend for about 3 hours, but he's not a 3-day guy. And then there are some people I can hang out with for a few days, but I wouldn't go on an extended vacation with them. Take a look at your own relationships and be sure that you're not spending 3 hours with a 3-minute person. While we're in the midst of discussing the associations of people in your life and their effect on you and the energy you need to accomplish your goals, I'd like to offer you what I think is some really excellent counsel. How do I know this is excellent counsel, you ask? Because I've not done this in the past and had to learn this the hard way. Here it is. Be careful whom you share your goals with. Void of a few people in your life, everyone else will either be indifferent, truly not really caring about your goals, dreams, and ambitions. Hey, they don't have enough passion and energy for their own. And others, many close to you, actually want you to fail. I know this sounds crazy, and they don't do it consciously per se, But when you declare you're going to change your life and go for a big goal that will take you out of their herd and ahead of your friends, family, or existing peers, they will resent you. There is a great saying to keep in mind as you move from ordinary to extraordinary. The less you are like others, the less others will like you. Let that be just fine with you. But what is important to realize is that it's not about you at all. It's about them. They are not resentful of you, really. They are resentful of themselves. They are resentful of their own inner voice that prods them to the fact that they should be doing more, stepping out, taking risks, and going for bigger goals in life like you. There's a story I heard about a type of crab that cannot be caught. It is agile and clever enough to get out of any crab trap, and yet these crabs are caught by the thousands every day, thanks to a particular human-like trait they possess. The trap is a wire cage with a hole at the top. Bait is placed in the cage, and the cage is lowered into the water. One crab comes along, enters the cage, and begins munching on the bait. A second crab joins him. A third, crab Thanksgiving, yum! Eventually, however, all the bait is gone. The crabs could easily climb up the side of the cage and through the hole, but they do not. They stay in the cage. Other crabs come along and join them long after the bait is gone. Now, should one of the crabs realize there's no further reason to stay in the trap and attempt to leave, the other crabs will gang up on him and stop him. They will repeatedly pull him off the side of the cage. If he persists, the others will tear off his claws to keep him from climbing. If he persists still, they will kill him. The crabs, by force of the majority, stay together in the cage. The cage is hauled up and it's dinner time on the pier. The chief difference between these crabs and humans is these crabs live in water and humans on land. Anyone who has a dream, one that might get them out of what they might perceive to be a trap, had best beware of the fellow inhabitants of the trap. Now, the people around you don't usually use physical force, although they are not certainly above it. They generally don't need it, however. They have more effective methods at hand and in mouth: innuendo, doubt, ridicule, derision, mockery, sarcasm, scorn, sneering, belittlement, humiliation, jeering, taunting, teasing, lying, and dozens of other tactics they can use to pull off your claws or kill your dreams. This is why you want to keep the crabs around you away from your goals. Here's a great quote from Gandhi that I try to remember as I climb the mountain of my big goals. He said, "First, they ignore you. Then they laugh at you. Then they fight you. Then you win." I like that. I can hear you asking, why would these people who purport to love and want the best for me, why would they want to keep me in the cage? Well, a couple of distinct reasons, I think. One, they simply aren't as courageous as you. They cannot get over the idea of leaving the security of familiarity, what they've become used to and are comfortable with. To set an ambitious goal is outside that familiar comfort zone. You have to step away from the herd of mediocrity and venture out on your own into the unknown. Most people are simply not courageous enough to do that. What you are doing just doesn't fit their model of the world, so they're going to be communicating their foreboding warnings from that vantage point. Love them anyway, but don't let them drag you back into the pack of mediocrity. 2, you make them look bad. You are a giant exposing mirror to them. Your actions are being reflected back to them. They know they should be doing what you're doing, but they're afraid. By you doing it, it makes them look bad for not doing it themselves. Instead of borrowing from your strength and joining you, it's easier for them to make fun of you, try to convince you why what you are doing is dumb, stupid, bad, or foolish in the hopes that you will give up and come back to the pack so they can no longer look at you and feel bad about themselves. It is important to realize their comments are saying more about them and their fears being kicked up by your leaving the herd than it is about you and what you're doing. Love them anyway, but don't let them drag you back into the pack of mediocrity. There's an article a former colleague of mine in a prior venture, Jeff Olson, shared with me. This really changed my view of how important other people's opinions should be to me. This article revealed that at a funeral, an average of about 10 people will care enough to cry. I thought, what? You mean I can work hard all my life trying to please others, and then in the end, only 10 people will care enough to cry? It gets worse. The article found that the number one thing that will determine the number of people who will go to the burial site with the funeral procession is the weather. It was found that if it's raining, more than 50% will not go to the burial site. I find this horrifying, actually. It's not how you live your life that will be the number one determinant. The circumstances of the weather will outrank your entire life's existence. When I heard that, my entire perspective on living for other people's favor or approval changed. Right then and there, I no longer cared what other people thought of me or whether they approved of me or what I was doing. Their rejection no longer had any power, particularly if I thought they wouldn't even be one of the 10 who would cry. Many times before making a prospecting call or after one where I was rejected, I would ask myself, would this person cry at my funeral? And most of the time the answer was, I doubt they would even walk across the street to even go. Why do I care what they think? That is a very liberating way to think of it, and the truth. We spend so much of our lives worrying about being rejected by other people, and most of these people probably won't even come to your funeral. If they do, they probably won't cry. And if they do, and it's raining, they will probably drop out of the funeral procession altogether. I pass this important perspective forward to you. Don't let people who don't matter, matter. And then there's the great advice our friend John Addison, co-CEO of the multi-billion-dollar company Primerica, gave us. Never accept advice from people more screwed up than you are. That's a good mantra to live by, particularly when it comes to your goals. Steve Jobs said something beautiful in his commencement speech to the 2005 graduating class of Stanford University, which was just a year after he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and given 3 to 6 months to live, which he beat, of course. Let me pass it forward to you here. He said, "Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of other people's opinions drown out your own inner voice, heart, and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become." Beautiful advice, Steve. Okay, let's move on to the type of associations that can propel you forward, actually assist you in achieving your big, hairy, audacious goals, and those are expanded associations. We've talked about weeding out the negative influences. While you're knocking those off who can hold you down, you also want to expand your associations out to those who can pull you up. Identify people who have positive qualities in the areas of life where you want to improve. People with the financial and business success you desire, the parenting skills you want, the relationships you yearn for, the lifestyle you love, and then spend more time with them. Join organizations and businesses and health clubs where these people gather and make friends. Before we leave this section, I have to share a story about the legendary UCLA basketball coach John Wooden and his theory of 5. John was famous for instructing his proteges to take out a piece of paper and draw 2 lines down the page to create 3 columns. Try this for yourself. At the top of one column, write the 5 people you spend the most time with in your professional life. Those you go out to lunch with, hang out with after work, play golf with, whatever. The second one, the 5 people you spend the most time with in your personal life. Go out to dinner with, have over to the house, vacation with, etc. The third is the 5 most influential acquaintances or partners in service. Those you associate with at church, service clubs, associations, etc. Now, go down the list and assess each name. Is this person going where you're going? Does this person want what you want? Do you aspire to be like them? Do they share your dreams and reflect your morals and ethics? Will they help you get to where you want to be, either personally or professionally or in service? If so, strengthen that relationship and make sure you are giving to them as much as you are getting. If not, strike them from the list and look to add new names in replacement. You cannot maintain connections with people that will hinder your ability to become great. And that is great advice from someone who knows something about fostering greatness. So, if you want to have a better, deeper, more meaningful relationship, ask yourself, who has that type of relationship now? How can I spend more time with that person? Who can I meet who can positively influence me? Let their glow rub off on you. Befriend the person who you think is the biggest, baddest, most successful person in your field. What do they read? Where do they go for lunch? How can that association influence you? You can build these expanded associations by joining networking groups, Toastmasters, and similar organizations. Find the charity organizations, symphonies, country clubs where people you want to emulate gather. Now, I rave about Jim Rohn throughout this program because, aside from my father, Jim remains my foremost mentor and influencer. My relationship with Jim perfectly exemplifies an expanded association. While I got to share a few private meals and spend a little time with him during our interviews and backstage before events, most of my time with Jim was spent listening to him in my car or reading his words in my living room. I have spent more than 1,000 hours getting direct instruction from Jim, and 99% of that was through his books and audio programs. What's exciting about this is no matter where you are in your life, maybe busy at home with small children or caretaking aging parents, working long hours with people with whom you have little in common, or living out in the country far from the nearest office building, you too can have almost any mentor you want. If he or she has gathered their best thoughts, stories, and ideas into books, CDs, and DVDs and podcasts, you have an unlimited bounty from which to draw. Take advantage of it. Acknowledgements. First, I have to give thanks to my personal development mentor, Mr. Jim Rohn. I'm sure you have seen his influence throughout this program. Many of the big goals I've accomplished in my life are attributed to the inspiration and great instruction of my apprenticeship with this incredible man. Next, I must give thanks to my entire team at Success Magazine and Success Media. While the words and ideas found in this program are a result of the process and system I've followed to accomplish my own personal goals for 2 decades, they help me formalize it into this beautifully designed book and audio program you are now listening to. Special thanks needs to go out to the masterful editing of Shelby Skurhawk, the design wizardry of Carl Waters, and to the maestro of great audio production, my audio producer, Richard Del Maestro, and the audio production management of Mariana Lennox. Lastly, and most importantly, my goal planning partner and beautiful wife, Georgia. It is her inspiration and support that propels me to continually pursue the best within me.
We hope you enjoyed this audiobook from Success Books. Thank you for listening. To learn more about Darren Hardy, visit his blog at darrenhardy.success.com, or you can catch him on Facebook and Twitter. This recording of Living Your Best Year Ever was read by the author Darren Hardy. It is published by Success Books, an imprint of Success Media. Darren Hardy was recorded and edited by Richard Del Maestro. Additional editing, mixing, and mastering done by David Jewell. Copyright 2011 by Darren Hardy. All rights reserved.